Chapter 501. Control the Rhythm. Every army was looking forward to the battle. Everyone knew that the focus of the battle was the Saints. For this battle, they had prepared for a long time. The light barrier shattered, Ta Dun spat out a mouthful of blood and flew out. The martial artists around him all fell to the ground, as though they had suffered a heavy blow. But on their faces there was no dispiritedness. Instead, they opened their eyes wide, looking at the sky. Their mission was completed. The energy barrier was the most commonly used spirit technique by Saints. It took up very little spirit value, consumed very little true power, and was extremely quick to activate. It was extremely practical. If the opponent was a Saint, he would definitely not dare to be so careless, as his energy barrier standard could only be considered average. As for the martial artists, his expression was extremely calm. The might of a Saint's attack was so terrifying. It was a crazy plan. Tang Cho had surprised everyone and used the area below the King Kong Wall and above the army as a burial ground for Saints. Saints hated the large-scale attacks of armies the most. The density of the attacks made dodging impossible, and they could only endure it. Flute did not dare to delay, and immediately commanded the hunting net army to attack. They actually did not break the tortoise shell. This was more encouraging than anything else. They then knew that Saints could actually be killed. The previous Saint was killed by the Lupus army, and the other three armies were extremely jealous. He suddenly sensed danger, and when he lowered his head, he was shocked to realize the densely packed blade auras were like rain, quietly, like a group of sharks surging out of the water, shooting towards him. The current plateau armies, King Kong Wall, was much more mature than the Three Whale army. The densely packed sounds of explosions could be heard. At this time, no one dared to bet on whether the Saints were dead or not. Everyone was frantically attacking, disregarding everything else. An astonishingly congealed blade aura appeared in front of him. The bright blade aura reflected his shock and disbelief. His body was split into two by the blade aura. The distance between the Saints was quickly closing. The air was releasing a terrifying energy undulation. The might of the four Saints charging at the same time was as though MT Tai was pressing down, causing people to suffocate. Without any warning, the light ball exploded. The huge light barrier was covered with golden scriptures. These light threads did not have any destructive power, but were extremely tough, and the crucial point was that it did not consume much true power, so every soldier could produce large amounts of true power threads. The only drawback was that it required a longer time to prepare. These words immediately roused everyone's spirit. A Saint, a peerless expert who was sacred and unreachable to them, had actually become their goal. What else could make their blood boil more than this? Mozu clenched his teeth as he looked at the Lupus army that had just completed their assault. They were too cunning. He had seen the opportunity, but before he could make a move, Tang Yi had already completed his attack. The framework of the plateau army was still the same, but the internal structure had undergone a huge change, with even more high-leveled Cetus martial artists joining in. The blade auras of the spears and the various attacks of the mechanical spirit weapons were like raindrops, frantically entering the light net. And if he were to charge into the enemy's army, the enemy would instead be afraid to attack, and would not dare to use such a collective attack, and the powerful individual strength of a Saint would also be able to be displayed more fully. Even death would be worth it. Even with the congealed King Kong Wall, the might of the Saint caused many people's faces to change. The Saint did not expect the King Kong Wall to be able to block his full-strength attack. In the attack, he had used close to 70% of the true power in his body to create such a powerful attack. But what was that? He did not dare believe his own eyes. The attack just now could completely flatten a mountain peak and completely wipe out a city. Until now, with the Buddhist chant, it made the Cetus martial artists realize that they had underestimated their own commander. If it was just empty words, no one would believe it. But in Mizar City, they had killed a Saint. The military generals continued to encourage the soldiers, correcting their mistake. The surviving martial artists of the Three Cetus army had experienced the nightmarish battle of the Sword Tempest Cyclone. Their expressions were calm and composed, and the soldiers below were also influenced and quickly stabilized. The Plateau army had the most martial artists from Cetus constellation because it was originally the weakest. Andromeda constellation was only a northern sky grade constellation, and the average standard of martial artists was already far below what Ursa Major constellation needed. This situation would continue for a few more years. The current star power concentration of Andromeda constellation was much higher than before, but the strength of the martial artists required time to accumulate. The experienced Ta Dun knew that the outcome of a battle was decided in an instant. A light ball with a diameter of 3 m floated in the air, as though it was already waiting for them. But, out of all of them, he was also the military general with the longest military career, and the most experience. On this point, even Huang Fu Hong could not compare to him. King Kong. What was that sound? With the Iron Fist army as a barrier, the other three armies could focus on dealing with the four saints that were whistling towards them. The intense collision contained an astonishing power, which passed through the Plateau army, causing every single person in the Plateau army to tremble, their mouths and noses bleeding. Pa pa pa, close to a third of the soldiers were struck, and immediately flew out, crashing onto the ground, their faces pale white. Densely packed threads of light gushed out, completely enveloping the space within a radius of 500 feet. The three saints were completely enveloped by it. This was created by Flute, and was the most proficient tactic of the hunting net army, inescapable net. Damn it. Don't panic. Good, that's it. Well done. Whoosh. To be able to kill a saint, it was such an honor. The soldiers of the Plateau army were roused. His face changed, but he was daring. Although he was left with 30% of his true power, he was not flustered at all. An energy barrier immediately appeared in front of him. The energy barrier was smashed. 200 mechanical spirit weapons took turns to cover and retreat. Their speed was very slow, but no one in the crowd dared to move forward. One of the mechanical martial artists muttered. The King Kong wall revolved even more smoothly, the light aura converging. The golden scriptures changed from a dazzling gold to a deep dark gold. His pupils constricted. The martial artists of Cetus constellation had brought along King Kong Wall, a tactic that was created because of Bing's poison war. To be able to last so long in Tang Tian's whirlpool sword storm proved its worth. Ta Dun was clear of his own standard. He was a middle-aged man, and was pragmatic, and did not have any unrealistic thoughts. Let me. The Plateau army lit up with a gigantic light barrier. Looking down from the sky, it was a gigantic light barrier, completely protecting the opponent's army. To attack the opponent, they had to break the turtle shell. The three saints had rich battle experience. Before the King Kong wall's light aura had dissipated, they quietly rushed down. These people are so cowardly! Everyone shouted in unison, King Kong! Bang bang! In the blink of an eye, the other three saints had already arrived. They noticed that the King Kong wall was on the verge of collapsing. As long as they attacked again, it would definitely shatter. Pay attention to your breathing. Pay attention to the output of true power. The opponent's blade aura struck the energy barrier. Bang bang bang! In the silence, Mozu glanced at the dumbstruck martial artists with disdain, and said coldly, "Take turns to retreat and form a defensive line. Slow down a bit." Like a rumbling thunder, a fiery red figure, dragging a long fiery tail, with a low and mournful scream, pounced towards the King Kong wall. Countless fiery flows revolved around him, more and more, as though there were 10 fiery snakes swimming around. The blazing light aura was like a sun exploding. He did not notice that he was too close to the light barrier, less than 60 m away. He was waiting for his comrade's second wave of attack. He believed that the second wave of attack would definitely shatter the turtle shell. upright and plain-spoken, without anger. This Buddhist chant was something he had specially consulted Master Magic Flute, and spent countless of effort to master. He who had been in the army for a long time was very clear of his own shortcomings. He had always stayed in a small place like Andromeda constellation. His vision was small, and he lacked understanding of higher powers. He was also old, and his future achievements would definitely not be as high as Magic Flute. The Plateau Army's martial artists all shivered. The mournful demonic sound that filled the sky seemed to have disappeared without a trace, and the distracting thoughts in their minds were cleared. The Cetus martial artists were all shocked. Lupus Army and Iron Fist Army were like two wild beasts that were accumulating power, and moved at the same time. The light barrier suddenly lit up with a dazzling light aura. The thick fiery figure also attacked. But after a series of intense undulations, the light barrier actually stabilized. Bang! Not good. Looking at the fat meat that was right in front of their eyes being snatched away, that feeling was simply too terrible. As long as they barged into the army, they would be able to display their advantage in close combat, and in the middle of the enemy's troops, the enemy would not be able to use a large-scale attack. The moment the light barrier broke, 3 afterimages extremely quickly rushed down to the army below. Ta Dun was satisfied. The existence of the old soldiers was of great help to the army. The true power that was converging from all directions quickly became stable. How is that possible? But in front of Cetus constellation, Andromeda constellation was just a countryside military general. What was there to be praised about? Bing's demands for military discipline had reached a strict level, and no one dared to brazenly cause trouble, but in their hearts they were still somewhat unconvinced. And in their daily interactions, Ta Dun was a simple and persevering person. He valued their opinions, and everyone gradually accepted him, since it was rare to see an army commander who would listen to the opinions of his subordinates. But this was only Ta Dun's character, and not his abilities. The battle did not stop because of the death of a saint. Instead, it immediately became white-hot. But his reaction was extremely fast. Without hesitation, he once again activated the energy barrier. Ping, the energy barrier shattered again. He also saw the value of King Kong Wall. So in the internal department of the Plateau Army, he had invested a lot of effort into researching King Kong Wall. Tang Yi's battle sense was simply too sharp, and the heavy spear assault had become even stronger. Less than 30 m of distance, they could actually still charge forward with their blades, and complete the heavy spear assault. They are just small fries. Mozu said, the saints are our true target. In terms of technique, the Buddhist chant was not very profound, but in such a situation, it was extremely ingenious, and its use was extremely obvious. Ta Dun's eyes were wide open, his true power surged, and his words were like thunder. A biting cold sword aura, a hammer aura, landed on the light barrier. Chapter 502. He single-handedly killed his way into one of the Honorable Martial Alliance's divisions, and massacred all the Honorable Martial Alliance members in that division. In Tang Tian's palm, a red mark appeared like a wisp of flame. He had a bold guess in his heart. If it was proven, the crazy attack lasted for a full 5 minutes before stopping. You should be the tyrannical 1,000-armed butcher who killed people like flies. Devil Flame. Tang Tian's face was full of curiosity, although his palm was wrapped in flames, but he could not feel any heat. They had killed 4 saints. They had really killed them. How did you know? Tang Tian's face was full of surprise. Tang Tian's hand reached into the smoke. Whoosh, the smoke seemed to squirm, and swallowed Tang Tian. Tang Tian felt his vision go black, as though he was pulled into a void. A red-haired, black-eyed, skinny chin, pale face, and demonic aura of a young man stood in front of him. In the wanton and crazy laughter, William suddenly opened his arms. His body turned into rolling black smoke, and quickly entered Tang Tian and Little Fool's body. Little Fool turned his face expressionlessly. This fool, What is he doing now? When his gaze landed on Tang Tian's palm, he was instantly stunned. Tang Tian was furious. Little fool, don't think that you can rebel just because you've grown up. Come, let's have a good fight. If I don't take care of you today, I'll change my surname to yours. Don't tell me. His eyes suddenly lit up. Try this. So powerful. Tang Tian was shocked. The cold young man did not even look at the fool Tang Tian's eyes. No matter how nicely you put it, a bad person is still a bad person. Tang Tian retorted confidently. Success, you have enmity with the Honorable Martial Alliance? William looked at Tang Tian with interest. Actually, my saint's spirit is quite delicious. William laughed. Of course, the prerequisite is that we can come to an agreement. Letting those guys from the Honorable Martial Alliance succeed is really an insult to me. Little fool floated silently, bringing along a cold and sorrowful look. Even though his current spirit value had reached an astonishing 80, it was still unable to make him happy. This was indeed William's mark, but there was no trace of William's aura inside. It was completely clean. Because he gave you my saint's soul. William raised his eyebrows and sneered. They stripped my saint's soul from my body, but they didn't dare to use it. They could only use it to harm others. Suddenly, Little Fool thought about something and muttered, "That's right, you are a zero-energy body." The battlefield was silent. Only the sound of heavy breathing could be heard. You can't devour anyone. Cold figure walked out of the dark void. The navy blue Tang suit accentuated his well-proportioned and slender figure, making him look extraordinarily handsome, except for his cold face. This kind of rhythm was too strange. Could it be that there was some kind of conspiracy here? William was dumbstruck. Seeing the two of them closing in on him, he muttered to himself. As expected of. The stupid Honorable Martial Alliance actually handed me over to you guys. Haha, interesting, this is too interesting. I can't wait anymore. Tang Tian had already started to entertain himself. He realized that the information contained in the mark was very profound. He could faintly feel a violent and cold aura, but it was hard to describe. Because it did not have any energy aura. William whistled and laughed. Seems like the stupid Honorable Martial Alliance has offended some people. William waved his hand. Hey, the stupid Honorable Martial Alliance is our common enemy. I can devour your spirit domain, but I can't take over your body. Little fool. He succeeded. He really succeeded. Tang Tian, who could not hold it in anymore, turned around and shouted. Shut up! Little fool, so mystical. You can actually become big and small. Tang Tian chased and shouted. Without saying a word, Little Fool used his chubby hands to press onto Tang Tian's arm. He placed the weak mark into Tang Tian's body. Little Fool, who was floating in the air, almost tripped and fell down. He was crying in his heart. He initially thought that he could have a good fight, and then this fool would definitely be heavily injured. Then he could take over control of his body. Who knew that it would end like that? What is this? Tang Tian was startled. That person actually looked exactly like him. The only difference was that his expression was cold and indifferent. But very quickly he was enlightened. He shouted out loud. Little fool, how did you grow so big? In the end, under Tang Chow's suppression, this crazy plan was carried out. Devil Flame is William's most famous self-created spirit technique. Little Fool introduced. This type of flame is extremely unique. It can burn anything. It is said that at its peak, it can even burn space. He suddenly raised his head and laughed. Oh right, my body is still in the hands of the Honorable Martial Alliance. Remember to help me find it. There's no need to bury it. Just burn it. I really want to see what expression the Honorable Martial Alliance will have when they find out about your identities. Ha 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 ha. This bunch of rascals actually dared to trick me. Tang Tian was enraged. Little Fool was confused. But he did not dare to look down on William. All the famous experts, especially the notorious saints, were able to live for so many years. None of them were easy to deal with. Tang Tian was startled. He turned to look at William. He nodded his head. Little fool, what you said makes sense. You look like a bad person. William raised both of his hands. Hey, why don't you listen to me first? I am harmless. Everyone stared blankly at the 3 charred corpses. Their minds were blank. Ta Dun, who was covered in blood. Flute, who was panting heavily. Huang Fu Hong, who was in his mechanical spirit weapon, stared blankly at the 3 corpses. Little fool. You actually know him. You actually know him? How can you know him? Is he very famous? Why don't I know him? William laughed. I can be the judge. Suddenly, he opened his palm. A bewitching red flame floated out from the imprint. It quickly spread across his palm. In the blink of an eye, Tang Tian's palm was enveloped in flames. What an asshole. I still have to be mocked by this fool. Asshole. Are you worthy of your infamous name? Should I tell him my real identity? He was infamous among the saints. But among the ordinary martial artists, not many knew of him. Red Devil William was definitely an infamous villain. He had killed so many people in his life that even he himself could not remember. His history was extremely mysterious. No one knew where he was or what he did before he was bestowed as a saint. And after he was bestowed as a saint, the first thing he did was to shock Heaven's Road. Suddenly, Tang Tian, who was behind him, seemed to have discovered something new. His tone was filled with surprise. What deal? Tang Tian's face was filled with caution. Don't tell me you want to trick me too. Tang Tian had never heard of the Red Devil before, so he did not feel any pressure. Although he looked calm and strong, but the pressure in his heart was huge. Tang Tian was speechless. He knew that if he were to continue arguing with the fool, there would be no end to it. Anyways, he did not place his hopes on the fool. He slowly took out the saint's sword ocean prison. The black flames flowed along the sword blade. It was as though it had a life of its own. He said coldly, All the troubles, I just have to kill you. It shouldn't be your type. Little fool had a weird expression. He muttered to himself, You are a zero-energy body. And why? Where did this feeling of shame come from? Little fool's eyes lit up. That was William's imprint. Tang Tian said coldly, You are the one who is truly incredible. Red Devil William. Are you really Red Devil William? Tang Tian was deep in thought. But I really want to use my sword to stab this fool into a sieve. How can you surrender so easily? The surrounding void disappeared. Then Tang Tian watched as Little Fool, who looked exactly like him, shrunk at a speed visible to the naked eye. Once again, he became the adorable doll like Little Fool. He actually shrunk in front of the fool. This was not normal. Little Fool's face darkened. He immediately turned and floated towards the corner. After swallowing the saint bone, there was an extremely weak imprint inside. The imprint was extremely weak, but Little Fool realized that its level was extremely high. He could not comprehend it in such a short amount of time. I am William. Wah, Little Fool, you became smaller again. So powerful. Tang Tian's mouth was wide open, his face filled with shock. Follow my surname, he said quietly. Little Fool's figure suddenly appeared in front of Tang Tian. His adorable face was extremely serious. He carefully inspected Tang Tian's body condition. But very quickly, his expression became weird. The Honorable Martial Alliance had stripped William's saint spirit, but did not dare to use it themselves. It could be seen how ferocious William was. Even the Honorable Martial Alliance did not dare to rashly try. Little Fool was already prepared for a tough battle, but he did not expect that William would suddenly give up on resisting and help them. On that day, 4 saints fell. Alioth City was breached. The rest surrendered. Big Dipper was shaken. And after that, his footprints covered all the major constellations. The number of Honorable Martial Alliance martial artists that were killed by him was uncountable. But he was extremely cunning. The experts of the Honorable Martial Alliance all came out. They laid out an inescapable net, but he managed to escape. Little Fool's eyes widened. He blurted out, "Devil flame!" The net had long been destroyed. 3 tattered corpses fell from the net and landed heavily on the ground. The 3 corpses were unrecognizable. They were charred black and did not have any signs of life. William's most eye-catching feature was his red hair. He was as cunning, cold, and bloodthirsty as a devil. That was how he got the name Red Devil. Little Fool's chubby fists clenched tightly. His face was dark. In the past 5 minutes, everyone had entered a frenzy. Everyone knew that if the Saints were to barge into the army, the result would be disastrous. When Tang Cho suggested the crazy plan, everyone objected. To place the Saints at such a close distance, that was playing with fire. If any step was wrong, it could possibly lead to the entire army being wiped out. Tang Tian exclaimed, "I am Tang Tian." Chapter 503. On Tang Tian's left palm, there was a small knife imprint. Tang Tian flipped his right palm, the red flame immediately enveloped his fist. His left palm slashed in the air, sigh, an extremely thin transparent blade aura, flashed in the air. Tang Tian secretly clenched his fists, but was not discouraged. He had been searching for the devil flame for the past few days, and finally understood what the flame was. Tang Tian saw Yaya and immediately said, "Yaya is so obedient. Yaya, go teach Little Fool a lesson." Song Yang Yu looked at the 2 disciples in front of him and the row of corpses and sighed. They finally could not hold it in anymore. Hearing that, Tang Tian replied, "No problem, I will think about it myself." The Saints' destructive power was too strong, so all along, the Saints had always been a high-level fighting power, and were used as deterrents. A chaotic battle between over 60 Saints was enough to destroy a planet. The training camps being transferred to the Groundsmaster establishment did not cause the Saints to be afraid. To them, it was a sign that Song Yang Yu and the rest were at the end of their road. All these weak disciples, what use could they have? Just because they can change their size, their wings have hardened? Humph, it's not that easy. Is Master planning to defend to the death? Groundsmaster establishment. Little friend, you still need to train, Bing said. His gaze landed on the imprint on Tang Tian's hand and exclaimed, "What's that on your hand?" At the same time, there was a group of Saints that left. Amongst them, some were called back by the constellations, some felt that it was a good opportunity, and wanted to find a way to hug a thick thigh. Tang Tian was surprised. "Ah Cho is so powerful?" Song Yang Yu muttered to himself. "I never thought that it would actually be like this. Is this fate?" Things had finally developed into the situation that he was most worried about. His previous strategy was to use the Honorable Martial Alliance to suppress the independent Saint. The big powerhouses were not worried that he would run, they had confidence in their own strength, as long as they knew that you were willing to cooperate. But these independent Saints were a mix of good and bad. Many of them took risks out of desperation, doing things by hook or by crook. That was what Song Yang Yu was most worried about. It was enough for him to suffer such humiliation once. How could he never see the light of day again? Bing leaned over, looked at it seriously, and shook his head. Never seen it before. Seeing that Yi Zhao Gu was determined, Rong Bo no longer tried to persuade him. Although he thought highly of Yi Zhao Gu, Yi Zhao Ji's current strength was still weak, and it was difficult for him to help him. Leaving him here to temper himself was not a bad idea. This news made Rong Bo unable to sit still. They wanted to return to the Honorable Martial Alliance. Before he could finish his sentence, a hand suddenly grabbed him. Little Fool only felt the world spinning, his face once again intimately touching the ground. There were many hidden dragons and crouching tigers among the independent Saints. Song Yang Yu had spent so much effort to set up the ancient cold city, and they actually found a way to break through it. What made Song Yang even more worried was that many independent saints seemed to have formed an alliance. I heard that there was a riot last night and many people died. Ding Chen whispered into Tang Tian's ear. He was completely in awe of Master Baiacho. Others were still thinking of how to barge into the grounds Master establishment, but Master had already sneaked in without anyone knowing. With that, he threw Little Fool to Yaya. Yaya carried Little Fool on his back and slipped out of Tang Tian's sight. Yi Zhaogu replied respectfully, "Zhaogu understands." But at the moment they did not have any better ideas. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran looked at each other. The two of them did not object. After the surprise attack last night, the guards of the grounds master establishment had suffered heavy casualties, and they were severely lacking in manpower. They were only worried that the disciples in the training barracks were too weak, and would not be of any use in the battle. Bing, who had disappeared for a day, appeared again. The uncle puffed out a smoke ring and teased, "Yo, you guys are having fun. Big Dipper's progress is good." Bing leaned on the wall, puffing out smoke. Tang Cho has already taken down Alioth City and killed 4 saints. But they need to rest for a few days. Ta Dun's plateau army suffered the most, and needs to recover. The war, was it about to enter the era of saints? The grounds master establishment had suffered a surprise attack last night, and the guards under him had suffered heavy casualties. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran were both injured to varying degrees. This chaos was not only in the grounds master establishment, the guards in ancient Cold City had also suffered heavy losses. He knew what the clan elder meant. Once the clan elders left, it meant that he had lost his protective umbrella. He had just stepped into the saint rank not long ago, and Glimmer had not even crossed the threshold. Ancient Cold City was filled with saints, and there were many who were stronger than him. The Honorable Martial Alliance and Onyx Soul Clan elders have already left, and these people have no worries. Song Yang, you looked at Fu Zhongshan. How are your injuries? The escalation of the conflict caused the entire Heavens Road to be filled with worry. As for the saints, they had lost their usual interest. There were more than 60 saints. This kind of conflict had never happened before. It was not the devil fire. It was not only Rong Bo who left ancient Cold City. Clan Elder Mu also left in a hurry on the same day. Compared to the terrifying battle, what was the matter in ancient Cold City? These independent saints had been bestowed as saints for many years, and their strength was profound, far from what he could compare to. With Clan Elder Rong here, naturally no one dared to find trouble with him. But now that the clan elder was returning to the Honorable Martial Group, although others feared his identity as an Honorable Martial Alliance, but if there was a dispute, this identity would not be of much help to him. There is no energy undulation. Bing frowned. I think I have seen such a weird thing before. Little Fool immediately floated far away. And with so many saints, it was definitely a huge whirlpool. Tang Tian's heart trembled. He was determined to get Sexton's eye. All the saints here were his competitors. He colluded with Onyx Soul. I saw Tong Gu. Fu Zhongshan's eyes were overflowing with killing intent. Jiang Yang is a good child, a pity he fell into his hands. The situation last night was very chaotic, and there were more than one batch of people. Saying that, Bing's face congealed. Damn it. This battle was much more cruel and bitter than what he had imagined. Ancient Cold City looked normal in the day. Song Yang Yu's Cold Tide City did not go to waste. Although the opponent was able to cause Ancient Cold City to lose its protection, but it was obviously for a short period of time. When they entered the city, the disciples of the outer fighting grounds had pale faces and could not conceal their fear, causing many of them to laugh out loud. Actually, you were careless, right? Actually, you did it on purpose, right? He still did not understand what the flame was, but he had an instinctive feeling that it definitely contained a strong power. Oh, the toilet is not important. I better stay further away. William's imprint was the devil flame, but Tang Tian was a zero-energy body, and had a strong effect on energy bodies. The energy in the imprint was forcefully expelled from Tang Tian's body, leaving behind only the purest laws. In the battle that erupted between the Honorable Martial Alliance and Leo Constellation, both sides had sent in a total of 6 armies, and the number of saints exceeded 60. The scale of the battle was huge, far surpassing any conflict that had happened before. Tang Tian replied, "Just now I was messed with by Little Fool, and now there's this." In common sense, laws and energy were basically inseparable. All of the laws were for the sake of controlling energy, and allowing energy to be used more effectively. Yang Hao Ran's face was filled with anger. "I never thought that Li Ruo was actually such a person." Compared to the other classes of disciples who were panicking, Ding Chen's class was much calmer. Everyone knew that Master Bai Cho had astonishing strength. "Just now in front of that William, you ignored me. This debt, I will settle it with you now." Rong Bo looked at Yi Zhaoguo and said sternly, "Zhaoguo, if you want to be here, I will not object. But, you must remember, the resources of the Honorable Martial Group is much more than the outside. Do not abandon the roots and chase after the tail." Little Fool felt as though he was a wet towel that was swung up and smashed on the ground. Tang Tian fiercely scolded him from above. To be able to become a saint, how could he be easy to deal with? More accurately, it was a strand of devil flame that had its energy removed. Little Fool's expression froze. He had thought of countless of possibilities, but the reaction in front of him was obviously not within any of them. The strand of imprint entered Tang Tian's body, causing Tang Tian's body to tremble. His face scrunched up, and he held onto his stomach. Stomach. Without saying anything, he was like a gust of wind rushing to the toilet. Little Fool then remembered their current positions. But his body was unable to go against Tang Tian's orders, and completely uncontrollably floated in front of Tang Tian. But, at that moment, Tang Tian realized, in front of him, there was a strand of laws that had its energy removed. No, it was 2. The small blade imprint seemed to be of a higher grade. He suddenly raised his head. "Withdraw all the guards in the city to the residence, and let the disciples in the training camps outside the city come in as well." Although many people had left, but the atmosphere of ancient cold city had instead become much more lively. Without Elder Rong Bo and Clan Elder Mu, the 2 huge mountains, the other saints immediately felt much more relaxed. That's right, recently, the battle between the Honorable Martial Alliance and Leo Constellation has escalated. Bing was confused by Tang Tian's words and gestured. "Stop!" Tang Tian kept quiet. Fu Zhongshan said, "Disciple has already checked. A few important points in the city have been tampered with. They used 12 spirit treasures, and temporarily suppressed the cold wave and our treasures. That is why the city's defenses are ineffective." "Don't worry, Master, Disciple is fine." Fu Zhongshan shook his head, a look of sadness flashed past his eyes. The injuries on his body were caused by his third brother, Li Ruo. He never thought that his close brother would actually betray him. Little Fool decided to reveal his identity. "Actually, I don't know, Uncle, do you know me?" Tang Tian asked curiously. "I sold Dawn and obtained a saint spirit called William or something. This fellow originally wanted to trade." "Oh, that's right, Little Fool can become big or small." He thought for a long time, then shook his head. "I can't remember." The exploding sounds that came from the toilet could be heard from far away. Thinking about how the fellow's fart had created a hole in the ground, and thinking about the concentrated exploding sounds in the toilet, Little Fool suspected that the fellow had destroyed the toilet. After a long time, Tang Tian then held onto his stomach and came out, his face unkind. "Little Fool, come over." This discovery was out of Tang Tian's knowledge. Chapter 504. Do your best and leave it to fate. She did not have any say in this matter. Many years ago, she was sent to guard this place, and the grounds master establishment was built by her, so she was familiar with every corner. It's finally over. Tang Tian heaved a sigh of relief. I never thought that Ah Cho would have such capabilities. I feel that he is very powerful. Don't you guys feel that the arrangement just now was ingenious? Why? I want to train, Tang Tian said unhappily. Furthermore, we are here for Sexton's Eye, why should we help her? She forced herself to be alert, displaying her steadiness and calmness, dragging her fatigued body to patrol the area. Every defense position, she could not help but laugh bitterly in her heart. Until the end she was somewhat numb. In this world, are there really geniuses? Wah, uncle, you are so sinister, Tang Tian exclaimed in his heart. This kind of disciple, the fighting grounds would not interfere. Agree to her? Bing instigated in Tang Tian's heart. Fu Zihong nodded her head. She did not have any expression because of Tang Tian's ugly appearance, but pointed to a hidden sentry. Why did you arrange 7 people here? Although his father and second uncle were strong individually, but when it came to commanding a battle, they were complete amateurs. This girl is not bad, Bing evaluated. At least she has good eyesight. I am by Ah Cho. Tang Tian met Fu Zihong's gaze without fear. The grounds master establishment was in a mess. Everyone needed time to familiarize themselves with their respective areas, and Tang Tian was surprised to realize that Fu Zihong was very experienced in doing things. Her commands were also very orderly. Finally, a true expert. At this moment, Fu Zihong was already in awe. The other party's understanding of how to use the terrain to its fullest extent. His attainments were profound, far beyond her imagination. That's right, it's him, it's hard to mistake that face. Fu Zihong was extremely busy, she was in charge of the defense, but seeing the strength in her hands, she could not help but sigh. In the past, there were gold-ranked martial artists, but now, it was a group of outer fighting grounds disciples. Using this group of cannon fodder to resist against a group of saints, it sounded like a joke. But, she knew, this was the last bit of strength of ancient Cold City, she had no other choice. Fu Zihong was overjoyed. Thank you, Ah Cho. When Fu Zihong saw the disciples of the outer fighting grounds, the worry in her eyes grew heavier. Only when she saw Ding Chen's class did her expression soften. This class's mental outlook was more outstanding, so she arranged an important position in Ding Chen's class. It was impressively the place where Tang Tian repaired the inner wall previously. Fu Zihong bowed. I didn't expect Ah Cho to have such a beautiful heart. Zihong is full of admiration. Ah Cho's talent is 100 times better than mine. I want to invite Ah Cho to decorate the entire City Lord's mansion. I wonder if Ah Cho is willing to help? Heavens, I can't accept this, I can't accept this. Eldest Miss, my goddess. Combined with the performance she had just witnessed, she had some new insight. Every year, the dojo would take in a group of such outer dojo disciples. Most of them had connections, so it was not easy to refuse. These people who came from connections were usually terrible, had average talent, and often had the temperament of a young master. Occasionally, there would be a few disciples who weren't strong enough but were talented. Fu Zihong's face did not change, she secretly scanned him with a star treasure, and when she judged Tang Tian's true power, she heaved a sigh of relief. By Ah Cho's true power standard was too low, a martial artist with such a low cultivation of true power could not possibly be a spy. Ding Chen! Fu Zihong suddenly shouted. An expert! Fu Zihong naturally would not object, and personally accompanied Tang Tian, patrolling again. If you don't help her, the City Lord's mansion will be breached tonight. Bing sneered. You think you can snatch it from others? You are now in the mansion, and everyone else is outside. What are you afraid of? You will block everyone outside the mansion, you are the closest, and furthermore, you have their trust. Wouldn't the possibility of success be higher? Fu Zihong saw Tang Tian's unfamiliar face and was surprised. Who are you? Calculated? Fu Zihong muttered, and could not help but slowly ponder. After a moment, her eyes lit up with a strange light aura. She was originally proficient in this, and upon receiving Tang Tian's reminder, she quickly obtained the result, and the numbers matched perfectly. The groundsmaster's mansion was built according to the standards of a stronghold, and there were defensive facilities everywhere. Seeing that Fu Zihong was not around, Bing simply took over the authority, and commanded Ding Chen to start making arrangements. To Bing, he only needed to look at the facilities to know how to use them. Bing even had time to spare, and ordered Ding Chen to bring everyone to practice attacking and defending twice. But everyone knew that if they did not sweat a little, if there was a night attack, they might lose their lives, so everyone gathered their energy. Fu Zihong followed behind by Ah Cho, like a little follower. She would ask questions from time to time, her face full of worship. Of course, this was not the same thing as William's Devil Flame, but Tang Tian was too lazy to name it. Tang Tian saw that he was seen through, and simply stood out and said, "It's me." Tang Tian was still thinking about training and simply said, "Let's take advantage of the time before it gets dark and finish everything." Tang Tian's heart was filled with regret. If he had known earlier, he would have brought everyone together and flattened Sexton's constellation. The process of the practice was naturally lacking. To hope that after 2 practices, they would be able to do it properly, that was impossible. Everywhere he went, the martial artists were all stunned. "Am I seeing things? Isn't that Ah Cho from Ding Chen's class?" Every single point that Ah Cho pointed out made people exclaim in admiration, and there were even a few that Fu Zihong could only vaguely grasp. "All right, I'm going back." Tang Tian waved his hands at Fu Zihong, and without waiting for her to urge him to stay, he quickly disappeared. Tang Tian was startled, and just at that moment, Bing's voice sounded out in his mind, calculated. In Fu Zihong's eyes, the ugly Bai Ah Cho was such a disciple. She was extremely familiar with every corner of the groundsmaster's mansion, and this west courtyard was the focus of her research, how to arrange it, how to arrange the strength of the defense. She had done countless of imitations. Currently, the hidden sentries that were heavily guarded were all ignored by her. Now that the opponent had made such arrangements, in her eyes, it immediately produced countless changes. It can't be. Big Missy's taste is slightly weird. Fu Zihong saw that Tang Tian did not speak and bowed again and said sincerely, "When the nest is overturned, how can there be unbroken eggs? Ah Cho, I'm begging you, no matter what, please help me this time." Towards the arrogance in by Ah Cho's words, she did not mind. As the master of a city, she had rich experience in management, and knew that such a talented person would always have some weird temperament. Arriving at the west courtyard, she suddenly stopped in her tracks, her beautiful eyes suddenly glowing with a trace of light aura. The disciples here were practicing over and over again, although it looked messy, but she could still see that these practices were extremely targeted. She looked more and more carefully, and was secretly shocked. Every stronghold here was fully utilized. Not only that, Fu Zihong had already gone through a few arrangements, and simulated a few battle tactics in her mind. No one blamed her, everyone was consoling her. She was smiling as usual, as calm as usual, but in her heart, it was filled with the bitterness and gloominess of failure. On the contrary, towards death, she did not have much fear. If this is fate, then accept it. Who arranged this place? Fu Zihong's gaze was as sharp as a sword. Don't tell me it's you, you don't have the ability. Fu Zihong felt that the common sense that she had formed over the years was completely toppled. Ding Chen, who was dizzy from the practice, heard someone calling him, and subconsciously stopped. He turned his head with a blank face, and only reacted after a while. Big Missy! After a few key points, Fu Zihong was completely convinced. If not for Ah Cho's young age, she would have thought that he was an old general who had been on the battlefield for a long time. A few key points were slightly changed, and the threat increased greatly. A few of the arrangements looked casual, but after careful consideration, it made people exclaim in admiration. After spending a full 4 hours, they finally rearranged all the defenses, and Tang Tian spoke until his mouth was dry. Being a mouthpiece was a very dry and boring job. He completely did not understand the problems that Fu Zihong and Uncle Bing discussed, and could only repeat it mechanically. Tang Tian had seen Fu Zhongshan's strength before. He was definitely stronger than him, but he was still injured. Yang Haoran was also injured. It showed how ferocious the attack was. An absolute expert. Tang Tian, who had a guilty conscience, immediately became confident. I calculated it. She used to think that this place would never be breached, but after the surprise attack last night, she knew how naive and laughable her thinking was. Saints were much stronger than she thought, and gold-ranked martial artists were fundamentally different from them. If not for her father and second uncle's desperate counterattack, the grounds master residence that she had painstakingly built would have already fallen. Sigh, I brought too few people. Fu Zihong had seen an outer fighting grounds disciple before. His drawing talent was so high that she could not help but exclaim in admiration. His drawings were filled with spiritual qi. This outer fighting grounds disciple could not dissuade his parents, and was sent here to continue training, but in the training camp, he did not train at all, and spent his days immersed in drawing. Tang Tian pretended to familiarize himself with the environment. This was not a training camp, and could not give him a specialized training room. This made Tang Tian somewhat vexed. He had been trying to gain enlightenment on the weird devil flame for the past few days. All right, Tang Tian also felt that his thoughts were somewhat inappropriate. He nodded his head and said loudly, "Then I will reluctantly agree to it." Fu Zihong's gaze was filled with splendor. In just 4 hours, he had actually completely sorted out the defenses of the entire grounds master residence. Everything that had happened today had given her a huge shock. Wherever Ah Cho went, it was as if he did not think. He would casually point out, and all the loopholes in the arrangements, the places that were overlooked, would immediately become clear. Expert. Tang Tian felt that Uncle Bing's words were filled with complacency, but Uncle Bing's words were also very reasonable. If a chaotic battle were to occur, then the hope of him obtaining Sexton's eye would be very slim. Her first reaction was to be on guard. For the other party to sneak into the grounds master residence at this time, could it be that he had other intentions? Spy? Ding Chen's face changed and cursed inwardly. But Tang Tian did not dare to slack off, although he had sneaked into the grounds master residence. But from the situation yesterday, there could be a sneak attack by a saint at any time. Those saints would not let him go. If he was not careful and lost his life, then he would cry. Chapter 505. Yes. Song Yang, you said calmly. But Sexton's eye has not been refined, and there are dangers everywhere. I do not wish for you to be in danger too early. But the situation is urgent, and I am not sure if I can hold on until that day, so I invited you over. Although this will put you in danger, but I think your fate can only be decided by you. It was this young man in front of him. Then, he froze in place, seeing the row of people in front of him. He was dumbstruck. Bing's gaze landed on the spirit general in the ice coffin, and as though he was struck by lightning, his mind went blank. As expected, it was me. The old man scrutinized him for a moment, his expression excited. You really look like him. Your surname is Tang, right? What's your name? Tang Tian quietly left, sneaking into the main courtyard. By Tian Bing already knew the entire defense of the grounds master establishment like the back of his hand. Without alerting anyone, they arrived at the main courtyard. Bing floated out. Yaya jumped onto Tang Tian's left shoulder and made faces at everyone. Little Fool held onto an umbrella and floated beside Tang Tian with an indifferent face. This is a spirit general that he entrusted to me, an incomplete spirit general. This is the place he chose, because it will allow this incomplete spirit general to not dissipate. This spirit general is very ancient. He has always been screaming. For 16 years, he has never stopped. Don't be scared. It is said that he has been screaming for 10,000 years. Ding Chun and the rest had long seen how powerful their boss was, and naturally did not have any doubts. Different from the other classes, Ding Chen and the rest had always been practicing with a serious attitude. Different from the other disciples, Ding Chen and the rest firmly believed that Boss Ah Cho would definitely be able to bring them out alive. Tang Tian's figure landed on the ice wall, and once again faced Song Yang Yu and the rest. His face was gloomy. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran only saw a blur, and lost sight of Tang Tian. The two of them were shocked, and wanted to block in front of Song Yang Yu, but a gust of wind brushed past them. The fog tortoise suddenly transformed into a ball of fog, and quickly shrunk, becoming a door made of fog. "I am Tang Tian," Tang Tian said. An old voice came out from the door. "The situation is really dire." Bing appeared. His tone was somewhat worried. "This defense is completely like tofu, it is impossible to defend against a sneak attack." Damn it! The other party was even younger than her. She suddenly recalled the thought she had during the day. Did geniuses really exist in this world? He suddenly raised both of his arms and roared, "Southern Cross Army, advance!" Tang Tian stared blankly at Song Yang Yu. "That makes sense." Tang Tian was moved by Bing's words. Fu Zihong stared dumbfoundedly at Tang Tian. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran's faces changed, their eyes revealing a faint killing intent. This person had changed his appearance to sneak into the residence. He definitely did not have any good intentions. "Wrench, wrench, give me a wrench. Hurry up, hurry up." The muscles on his face kept changing, and soon, he revealed his true appearance. Did the murderous look of the two door gods look like this? The young man's afterimage appeared in front of Song Yang Yu like the wind. His hand had already touched Song Yang Yu's body, grabbing him. It had been a long time since he had fallen into such a passive situation. His body, directly passed through Song Yang Yu's body, as if passing through a ball of mist. There really is. Tang Tian could not be bothered. The past 4 hours had already tormented him to the point of suffocation. But thinking about it, he was no different from the other saints. He was also here for Sexton's Eye, but now he was actually helping the Song-Yang fighting grounds to defend against those people. Bing stared blankly at the spirit general, his tears flowing uncontrollably. The middle-aged uncle squatted on the ground, wailing loudly, sobbing silently, like a child. Fu Zhongshan was powerful. He was definitely not his opponent, and this Yang Haoran's aura was similarly unfathomable. Tang Tian's body trembled, his eyes suddenly shooting out an astonishing light aura. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran's eyes revealed a look of shock. In that moment, the young man in front of them seemed to have changed into another person, his entire person releasing an astonishing aura. Song Yang Yu grinned, but did not reply. "I have waited here for a long time, and finally you are here. That day when you were repairing the walls in the west courtyard, the fog tortoise smelled your aura. Please believe us, we do not have any enmity." The old man laughed. The shock in Fu Zihong's heart was the strongest. She stared blankly at the calm-faced young man in front of her. The face that was still filled with childishness was now filled with seriousness. That strong aura, compared to her father and second uncle, was not one bit inferior. Since they had laid their cards on the table, Tang Tian no longer had any scruples. "By Ah Cho, I have no choice." Bing thought for a while. "Why don't we make the first move? Just now when we were setting up the defense, I had already carefully investigated that Sexton's Eye should be underground. Hey little rascal, I am called Screw. When you grow up, I will make a mechanical weapon for you." Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran stood on his left and right, releasing an imposing aura, causing Tang Tian to feel his mouth dry up. This damned Uncle Bing. He does not even dare to show his head, this unloyal fellow, and still said that the best time was the best time to walk into the trap. But in the next moment, his pupils constricted. His hand actually directly passed through the opponent's body. How is it possible? So fast. Then Tang Tian's body froze in place. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran were startled. Fu Zihong's reaction was the fastest. She almost cried out in surprise. She anxiously used her hands to cover her mouth, but when she looked at Tang Tian, her gaze was filled with shock. Very quickly, Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran also reacted, their faces changing again. Bah! And the old man, he obviously did not have any imposing aura, but he was as faint as the air. This strange feeling made Tang Tian's hair stand. So when Bing arranged the drill, all of them carried it out resolutely, without any sloppiness. Their lives were their own. Song Yongyu floated to the ice wall and said to Tang Tian, "Please drip a drop of blood on it." Tang Tian, master of Ursa Major constellation. Fu Zihong blurted out. She was completely stunned. She had thought that Bai Acho had a big background, but she did not think that it would be so big. It was as if he was being immobilized. The cigarette in his fingers dropped to the ground, but he did not feel it. He stared blankly at the ice coffin. Song Yongyu's words caused everyone to be shocked. "You look like him." Song Yongyu revealed a look of reminiscence. "Oh, he also has a spirit general by his side, who is very powerful. Other than Sexton's eye, he also asked me to take care of an ice coffin. Please follow me. The joints are severely damaged. Give me the number 3 joint. All of you move faster. Hold on, do not fall." Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran's faces changed. On the way back to the western courtyard, all the disciples looked at him with weird gazes, as though they were looking at a monster. Night fell. Fu Zihong had specially researched on this miracle. That's right, in her eyes it was a miracle, something that could not be replicated. "I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. If I leave, who will fix it for you?" Returning to the western courtyard's encampment, Tang Tian then relaxed. The fog tortoise's gigantic head was right in front of him, but he actually did not hear any sound, without any warning. "Please come in. Ursa Major constellation is not your future." This. Of course, Tang Tian did not dare to say that, although he was stupid, but he was not stupid. In such a situation where he could not turn things around, if he continued to pester, it would be courting death. He had not found Sexton's eye, and had not met up with Chie. He did not want to die. Number 261, Many are broken, Captain don't die, Xin don't die, little brat don't die. There was no enmity. In the transparent ice coffin, a skinny and withered spirit general, both of his legs were gone, his arms were as thin as firewood, as though he was convulsing, he was moving in the air, as though he was holding on to something, his withered face was focused, sometimes crazy, and his mouth was muttering words. Tang Tian squinted his eyes and asked word by word, "You know who I am?" Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran's faces changed at the same time. How could they not know of Tang Tian's name? The current Tang Tian was like the sun in the sky, a tyrant of a region. They had never thought that the dignified Lord of Ursa Major would actually personally sneak into the grounds master establishment. "I'm sorry, I don't know who he is either." Song Yongyu was indifferent. "He saved my life, and left me an inheritance, and then asked me to help him safeguard a few things. He said that if he could not come, his son would. I promised him, and 16 years have passed, and now you're here." What made Tang Tian's heart sink was that he could not use Blink. The cave was filled with cold waves, and he was completely unable to use Blink. Tang Tian's face darkened. Without saying a word, he cut his finger, and dripped a few drops of blood onto the ice surface. The ice wall melted at a speed visible to the naked eye, and a transparent ice coffin appeared in front of everyone. Trap? Ambush? My Chi. Tang Tian was confused. "Then what do we do?" Tang Tian waved his hand. "You are his son." Song Yongyu smiled. Tang Tian was also stunned by Song Yongyu's words. He did not think much, and asked, "Why?" Tang Tian's eyes lit up. "Underground." "Yes." Bing's expression was solemn. "There must be an entrance, we just need to find it. Tonight is a good opportunity. There was such a huge commotion last night. The group of idiots outside, will definitely not make any movements for the next 2 days. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran are injured, and will definitely recover at this time, and this is the weakest time for the Congyang fighting grounds. Fu Zihong looked at the person, and could not help but exclaim, she never thought that the person who would come at night would actually be Bai Cho. It was the young man in front of her, who relied on his own strength to forcefully raise the third-grade Ursa Major constellation to become an existence that was second only to the Honorable Martial Alliance, Onyx Sol and the Ecliptic Palace constellations. Tang Tian felt the blood in his body almost congealing. In front of him, the originally heavily injured Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran were brimming with energy. That imposing aura caused his scalp to go numb. This was too unbelievable. Tang Tian jumped in fright, but after hesitating for a while, he stepped through the door. Upon stepping through the door of smoke, he only felt the scenery in front of him rapidly changing, and the air became extremely cold. You're finally here. The old man slowly opened his mouth, his wrinkled face revealing a smile. Please return to your original appearance. Chapter 506. That's right, Bing said solemnly. The single-valve stronghold's idea is to force the enemy to split up and form a one-on-one situation. But that is the stronghold's valve entrance. The attacks will be extremely intense, and the battles will be frequent, so we need a strong person to guard it. No need, Bing said. The single-valve stronghold has another use. It can gather the energy dissipated from the battles, and when the gathered energy reaches a critical point, it can form an energy layer, and from there, seal the valve and obtain the opportunity to rest. Bing's expression returned to normal, and there were no traces of him losing his composure. Yes. Tang Tian nodded his head vigorously. The surroundings were quiet, everyone was stunned by Bing's reaction, only Tang Tian thought of something, and asked with concern, Uncle. No one can stop it, no one, not even 10,000 years of time can stop it. It happily took the star rock and started to chew on it. He paused for a while, then said solemnly, But I am not lying. Fu Zhongshan's strength is stronger than yours, but his potential and endurance are far from yours. I believe in your endurance and ability to take it. This is a gamble, and also an extremely good opportunity. In the past, all of you spared no effort to protect me, now I can finally protect all of you. Fu Zhongshan and the rest were shocked by Master's words. Everyone looked at each other, but no one made a sound. Yang Haoran nodded his head helplessly. That's the only way. Tang Tian was taken aback by Congyang Yu's trust in him. Me? No, Tang Tian will guard the stronghold. Bing said, I only trust him. Yaya was so excited that it somersaulted, squeaking and shaking its butt. Little fool is playing with it again. Tang Tian patted his chest, bursting with confidence. Don't worry. This godlike young lad will definitely beat them until they look for their teeth on the floor. Screw, I want to bring you back to the army, I want to cure you, I want to bring you to see Xian, we want to bring you to find the commander. Even we did not die, the commander is such a monster, how can he die? Fu Zhongshan was also helpless. Bing looked like he was not bad. Why did he take such a risk? To let Tang Tian take such a risk, was it worth it? However, he knew that the other party wouldn't listen to what he said, so he could only say, let's all stay alert. If anything goes wrong, we'll attack. Fu Zihong saw that everyone's atmosphere was somewhat stiff and quickly said, What about the materials? I'll go. Fu Zhongshan said in a low voice. He was the strongest among them, so he stood up without hesitation. Renovate the city lord's mansion, Bing said solemnly. I followed Zihong to see the entire grounds master establishment. Initially when we were constructing it, we referenced the structure of many strongholds. If it's like that, we can transform it into a single-valve stronghold. Let's gather and drink to our heart's content. Tang Tian beamed with joy. Really? Ha 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 ha, so I'm actually this strong. That sounds great. Now that you mention it, I think it makes a lot of sense. Not far away, Fu Zihong heard the conversation between the two and was completely dumbfounded. Was it really not murder? Actually, this uncle was a spy sent by the enemy. Which subordinate would instigate their own leader to take such a risk? Which leader would be stupid enough to rush to the most dangerous place? Bing scoffed. But we still need to take advantage of the time before those assholes outside react, to make some preparations. Little Fool hesitated for a moment, but still picked up a star rock. All right, to prevent this brat from bothering me, I will reluctantly put on an act. I am not happy that I am not able to die together with all of you in the last battle. I am really not happy. Compared to being afraid of death, I am more afraid of leaving all of you. When the sun rose at dawn, the entire groundsmaster establishment had changed beyond recognition. In the martial spirit chamber, Little Fool floated in the air, lost in thought. We will fight side by side. This brat has grown up, he has become braver. Bing smiled mysteriously. You will know when the time comes. Because it requires star power, Sexton's constellation's star power. Song Yang Yu explained. Only Sexton's constellation's star power can allow Sexton's eye to complete its transformation. This is what he instructed me to do. We will sing the war song together. Tang Tian did not decline. Although he still had many suspicions, but he could hear that Song Yang Yu and that person's relationship was not shallow. He nodded his head. All right, then let's do it. I will guard the pass. Bing's words made Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran angry. Yang Haoran wanted to say something, but was stopped by Fu Zhongshan. Fu Zhongshan said solemnly, If it doesn't work, we will change the general when the time comes. Little Fool slowly nibbled on the star rocks, and rolled his eyes in his heart. When will this kind of life come to an end? Suddenly, he remembered that Bing once said that the crippled spirit general was his comrade. Could it be that he also came from 10,000 years ago? 20 days. Song Yang Yu continued. Once the refinement is complete, Sexton's eye will have a function. It can produce a temporary star door. The range is within Sexton's constellation, and we can use it to leave. Little Fool was startled by Yaya's babbling. He was slightly angry. But when he saw Yaya's fawning look, his anger was slowly extinguished. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran, who were far away, looked at each other. They were dumbstruck. Initially, they wanted Tang Tian to guard the pass because of this. Now that the situation was critical, they had time to discuss all the suspicions. They had to pass this pass first. The enemy could launch a sneak attack at any time. The most important thing now was to immediately build the stronghold. I'm fine. I've let everyone see a joke. He is my comrade. I never thought that I would be able to see him again. Bing said calmly. What preparation? Tang Tian was at a loss. Fu Zihong stared blankly at the two abnormal people. Bing wiped away his tears. He looked at Screw, who was in the ice coffin, who was not complete, and was shouting like a lunatic. His gaze was resolute, the endless fighting intent in his chest surged and burned, like the era of war. Everyone was moved. How many more days do you need? Bing asked. Don't tell me you don't want to ask me why I asked you to guard the pass? Bing suddenly asked. Little Fool could still vaguely remember the friendship he had with Yaya before he was awakened. Gotcha, he helplessly bit on the star rocks. Fu Zihong looked at the strange stronghold. She could not help but look at the middle-aged man who was biting on the cigarette. She knew that Bing was the one who set up the defense. She knew about the single-valve stronghold. But she did not know how to build it. The single-valve stronghold had been lost for many years. She did not expect him to know about it. Bing did not notice Fu Zihong's gaze. He was not as calm as he looked. He and Tang Tian stood side by side. He bit on the cigarette. Are you ready? Yes. Song Yang Yu laughed. They will follow you in the future. Please do not reject them. Yaya jumped around Little Fool. Fu Zhongshan and the rest looked at Song Yang Yu. Song Yang Yu looked at Tang Tian. You decide. Bing pointed to his feet. Cold wave ice bricks. We will use cold wave ice bricks to construct it. Our martial artists are not good at fighting, but using them to create ice bricks is not a problem. The structure of the stronghold is very suitable to be changed into a single valve stronghold. If we are fast, we can complete it in one night. Should we advise Master? Yang Hao Rant's expression was sluggish. He muttered to himself. Such a boss was not a worthy person to rely on. He did not trust his father. He did not have any leeway. But towards Tang Tian, he followed him blindly. She acknowledged Tang Tian's strength. But, in all fairness, compared to her father, Tang Tian's strength still had an obvious gap. It really made her feel helpless. Why? Tang Tian was startled. He shook his head. I never thought about it. I trust uncle. And this is my problem. Why do I need others to risk their lives for me? How much I want it, I should work hard. Since I must get it, then I should risk my life. If not, wouldn't I be lying to myself? Tang Tian listened carefully. Bing would not lie to him. Bing definitely had his considerations. Bing puffed out a smoke ring and laughed. Yo yo yo, godlike young man. You are filled with passion. In her mind, Bing squatted on the ground and cried out in pain. She had never seen a man cry like that. The shock she felt at that moment was extremely intense. The spirit domain that you are training in is a rarely seen form spirit. Now, no one knows how to control it, Bing said, but I believe that as long as you continue to fight, you will definitely find a way. This is a special sparring session. It is very dangerous, but I believe that you will definitely be able to do it, because you have extraordinary battle instincts. 10,000 years ago, we fought side by side. 10,000 years later, we met again. I am still safe and sound. But you have been crippled for 10,000 years. This extremely unfamiliar name caused everyone to be confused. Only Fu Zihong's face revealed a look of surprise. Single valve stronghold? What happened today had a huge impact on him. Song Yang Yu, Sexton's eye. He did not know anything about it. In the past he thought that he knew a lot of things. But now, he realized that the things he knew were pitifully little. He had too many doubts in his mind. He wanted to ask Song Yang Yu, although he knew that Song Yang Yu might not know the answer. Bing guided him patiently. Think about it. When will you be able to find so many saints to spar with you? This is an extremely rare opportunity. If you miss it, you will regret it for the rest of your life. The entire grounds master establishment immediately started to move. All of the disciples were mobilized. The ice bricks underground were inexhaustible, especially when they heard that they could avoid battles by repairing the stronghold. Everyone could not help but cheer. They were extremely motivated. Everyone's spirits were roused. The urgency of the situation had already caused everyone to feel the immense pressure. Everyone felt that they were at the end of the road. They did not expect that Bing would actually have a way. What is a single-valve stronghold? Yang Haoran asked. Tang Tian's words were straightforward. There was no leeway. Just like 10,000 years ago. It was extremely anxious. Little Fool was not playing with it anymore. It dug and dug out a bunch of star rocks. Eagerly, it brought them to Little Fool. There is a way, Bing said slowly. Fu Zihong looked at Bing and immediately explained. The so-called single-valve stronghold is a type of extremely extreme stronghold. This type of stronghold structure is extremely unique. It is formed by intersecting layers of dark caves. Its defense is extremely strong, but this structure will leave an obvious gap, just like a valve. This gap will become the enemy's only point of attack. Thus, we need a strong martial artist to oversee it. Yaya brought the star rocks to Little Fool. His chubby face was filled with anticipation. Why don't you guys leave this place? Bing suddenly asked. If you guys want to leave, there must be another way. Chapter 507. Refining Spirit Treasures, and What Not Depended on Little Fool. Qian Xin was startled. Remnant pieces of spirit treasures? Of course, the powerful Southern Cross Army naturally does not need such small playthings. But now you can make use of it. Oh my, I was wondering why the mood was so good this morning, so it's because of the arrival of an esteemed guest. Qian Sen's face was flushed red. This small shop has many good items. There is a bronze spirit sword. The quality has reached the middle grade, extremely outstanding, only 200 billion star coins. Spirit treasures were expensive, but remnant pieces of spirit treasures were much more affordable. Tang Tian nodded his head and took out the dormant spear. How much is this dormant spear worth? He looked at the groundsmaster establishment and grinned. The exterior of the groundsmaster establishment had completely changed. Between the front courtyard, west courtyard and east courtyard, there were many crisscrossing ice brick caves, and most importantly, Bing had directed the cold wave from underground to the outer wall, causing the outer wall's defense to increase by a few times. Qian Sun did not have any temper. Look, what a tyrant to want to play with refining. Before even starting, he threw out 70 billion. He became even more passionate. Yes, yes, yes. That's right, playing with refining, cultivating one's mind. How elegant! You are just starting. I suggest you buy the entire set, from the entry level to the bronze high-grade refining spirit books. Adding them all up, it's about 12 billion. To refine, you need a fire spirit technique. I have a good fire spirit technique card here. Cygnus Constellations, a graceful cold flame. It's exactly 8 billion. Qian Sun was so happy that he could not close his mouth. His business was good, but they were all consignment businesses, and he only took some money from them. It was the first time he had a business that was close to 100 billion. Most importantly, the majority of the profits from this business would fall into his pocket. Upon saying that, he regretted it. Oh my, please do not offend a tyrant. 35 billion of profits will fly away. And Sai Lei had absorbed all sorts of bronze formulas from the army in the past, and had even greater breakthroughs in this domain, and Sai Lei had already started to experiment with spirit gold and secret gold. The so-called spirit gold was the combination of martial spirits and metals, and secret gold was even more astonishing. It was the purest metal extracted from mature treasures. I must be imagining it. Compared to martial artists, saints were naturally rich, but when they truly entered the saint ranks, they knew that the landlord did not have any surplus, and the saints' days were not good either. These independent saints did not have any financial backers, so their days were actually very tight. I'll sell it to you for 70 billion, Tang Tian said straightforwardly. Little Fool played with it for 2 days before throwing it to Tang Tian in disdain, saying that it could be sold. Doing business with a nouveau riche was really cool? Tang Tian muttered in his heart. For example, Tang Tian did not expect that Bing would actually target the brand. Qian Sun brought Tang Tian to a room, and then took out a chest from the vase. Inside the chest, there were all sorts of broken pieces. All of them had dim light auras, and all of them had strange shape. Tang Tian returned to his original appearance when he fought Yi Zhaogu. Tang Tian felt his heart ache. He glanced at them and asked, "How many in total?" Understanding of the laws was more important than strength. With a deep understanding, it would be easy to break through this barrier. If one's understanding was shallow, no matter how much effort one expended, they would still fail. Even if he succeeded, he would not be able to unleash the true power of the spirit treasure. As long as 200 billion star coins. Tang Tian's heart trembled. He had just spent a large sum of money for the saint unit. He already felt that it was exaggerated enough. Now that he heard that a spirit treasure was worth 200 billion star coins, he only had one thought. Could it be that the saint's money was not money? In that moment Tang Tian felt sad. Why was he not an Aquarius saint? It was said that the Aquarius saint's vase was filled with star coins. Under Qian Sen's warm farewell, Tang Tian left the ancient cold restaurant. Just as he walked out of the restaurant, he stopped. Seeing the person not far away, he laughed. The two of them flipped through the spirit books with all their might. They truly found the remnant pieces of the spirit treasures. When refining spirit treasures, one had to leave behind their own imprint. All of these imprints contained the refiner's understanding of the laws. Qian Xin received Little Fool's spear and inspected it carefully. Then he said professionally, "This spirit treasure's grade is not high. It's a lower bronze grade. But the craftsmanship is seasoned and the craftsmanship is excellent. It's the best of the lower bronze grade. Its estimated value is around 80 billion star coins." Qian Sen's mind was roused. As expected of a tyrant. "All right, Uncle Bing has some standards. Godlike young lad, I will reluctantly admit it. Inside are all remnant pieces of spirit treasures. 100 million star coins for one." Qian Sen pretended to be generous. "You must be clear about the market. Remnant pieces of spirit treasures are not allowed to be picked. When I saw you, I felt that we hit it off. You can pick anything you want." Furthermore, there were many saints in ancient Cold City. Some of the more active people started to do business. Normally, everyone would stay in their own place. It was rare for them to meet each other. Now that everyone was able to meet, they could use the things they did not need to exchange for the things they needed. The current mechanical laboratory was rich and overbearing. Adding a bunch of lunatics, the atmosphere of innovation was extremely feverish. The materials used to refine spirit treasures were mainly star treasures. However, every single star treasure was a body of its own. It was formed after thousands of years of nurturing. This stable state was an invisible barrier. Breaking the barrier of a star treasure required a huge amount of power. And to fuse and recombine different star treasures, not only did it require power, it also required a deeper understanding of laws. Qian Xin immediately perspired. "Don't tell me you don't know. So expensive." Remnant pieces of spirit treasures were truly cheap. Normally, only saints who could not afford to buy spirit treasures and wanted to refine their own spirit treasures would buy them. They wanted to use the remnant pieces of spirit treasures to figure out how to refine spirit treasures, and to inspire their own thoughts. "Are there any spirit books that can refine spirit treasures?" Tang Tian asked. "Truly enemies on a narrow road. The origin mark box in the past was limited by the metal material, and was unable to seal higher-grade origin marks. Now Bing was filled with anticipation towards the origin mark box. Qian Sen's heart trembled. He was an expert in observing people's expressions. Scholars had the aura of scholars. Strong martial artists had the might of strong martial artists. Different people had different temperament. It was not strange for people with a similar might to appear. For example, Elder Rong Bo, he actually had it. Even the remnant pieces cost 100 million star coins. Saints were practically burning through star coins. The news of Dawn being sold at an astonishing price had already spread like wildfire in ancient Cold City. In ancient Cold City, a complete spirit treasure, even the lowest grade bronze low-grade spirit treasure, would be sold for 50 billion star coins. The techniques to refine low-grade spirit treasures were not profound, but the difficulty was not low. It was time-consuming and energy-consuming. Ordinary saints would find their own treasures and spend 2 to 3 years to refine spirit treasures. Thinking about that, Qian Sen immediately became even more passionate. He immediately flipped through the records. Coincidentally, there is a batch of remnant pieces of spirit treasures placed in my shop for sale. Please follow me. Oh, I felt that it was interesting. I wanted to give it a try. Tang Tian said nonchalantly. Bing had obtained the entire ancient Cold City's defense map from Fu Zihong, and actually linked the grounds master establishment and ancient Cold City together. Tang Tian could still remember the expression on Fu Zihong's face at that time. He was completely stunned. And the current Sai Lei and the rest had made huge breakthroughs in their metal formulas. Every single aspect was much better than their generation. After the era of the 3 great armies, the mechanical techniques as a whole started to decline by a large margin. However, these mechanical engineers who were lost did not give up, and in some small areas, they still made great progress, and metal formulas were one of them. Should I give you the remaining 20 billion star coins? Qiansun asked. Could it be that he liked to refine spirit treasures? Tang Tian quietly walked out of the grounds master establishment. In the process of refining, this understanding would be reflected in the spirit treasures, and that was the imprint. Of course, these imprints could not be compared to Saint Spirit. But to Tang Tian and the rest, it was more than enough. The price of Saint Spirits was even more speechless. When everyone came together to analyze, they all felt that the mysterious man had purposely set up a trap to swindle the Honorable Martial Alliance. To swindle the Honorable Martial Alliance, everyone was happy to see it. But to swindle them so profitably, everyone was jealous. Uncle Bing ran to Three Spirit City to make some boxes. Although Sai Lei and the rest had moved away from Three Spirit City, but there were still a portion of people in the mechanical laboratory to help the base repair mechanical spirit weapons. Customizing a box was not a problem. Many saints were interested in it. Coming and going, business was good. Don't tell me there aren't any? Tang Tian frowned. It was just an instinctive reaction. But in the eyes of others, it gave off an imposing aura. I have seen such a thing before. When I saw Screw, I thought about it. Screw had worked on it before. It has two uses. One is to help you understand laws. And it is very suitable for you. You are a zero-energy body. These imprints that remove energy are also called origin seals. Screw thinks that they are the origin of laws. He has always been trying to break them and assimilate them into the mechanical weapons, but to no avail, because all these origin seals form their own bodies, and are difficult to break apart. Not only that, they are extremely destructive. Once they are sealed in metals, they will quickly destroy the bronze. Until after that, he researched on number 09 bronze, and was finally able to seal the origin seals. He created a very special thing called the origin seal box. Seeing Tang Tian's arrival, Qian Sen's eyes lit up. Tyrant! Tang Tian coughed lightly. Do you have any remnant pieces of spirit treasures? As for Tang Tian, he wanted to buy the items that contained the imprint. He could forget about the saint bones, as the price would definitely be hard to accept. But Bing said that when Screw was researching, he definitely did not use saint bones. Look, the tyrant buying remnant pieces of spirit treasures was different from others. This grandeur, this style. Without saying a word, he extended out 5 fingers. 510 pieces, I will be able to buy 500 pieces. 50 billion. Qian Sen's heart moved. Saints who were proficient in crafting spirit treasures were the saints that businessmen liked the most. Spirit treasures were expensive, but the market was still in short supply. There were too many tyrants. Tang Tian was pressed for time. Once he obtained the item, he immediately threw it to the Martial Spirit Chamber's waiter. Deal. Tang Tian was straightforward. The price he quoted was 80 billion, which was relatively conservative. He had the confidence to sell the mature growth halberd for around 100 billion. Now that he bought it for 70 billion in the blink of an eye, he would have a profit of 30 billion. 50 billion remnant pieces of spirit treasures was not a high profit, but it was still 5 billion star coins. With that, he would have a profit of 35 billion. Yes, yes, yes. He immediately replied. Alright, tyrants are all eccentric people who came to buy cheap goods. Qian Sun agreed without hesitation. Deal. Tang Tian arrived at the ancient cold restaurant. The place had already been rented by a saint called Qian Sun, and was used as a trading ground. The hall of the restaurant had many wooden boards. On them were written the items that one possessed, the items that one wanted to exchange for, and the room that the owner was in. It was Tang Tian's first time witnessing a trade between saints, and he felt that it was interesting. Chapter 508. Although the light was weak, it lit up the darkness. However, I also came prepared. Under the state of weak light, Yi Zhaoji's 6 senses were all raised. Tang Tian's moves that were so fast that he had difficulty defending were now extremely clear in his vision. How is that possible? How is that possible? Saint blood was the source of a blood meridian saint's power. The power of the saint blood flowed through every cell of the blood meridian's saint's body. The nature of the saint blood was also a type of spirit domain, so when it was used, it would more or less produce undulations. That was why Tong Go had such suspicions. The opponent definitely knew about the strangeness of the saint's spirit. The sword blade swayed, countless of light dots transformed into light needles, like a rain of light, following the sword. He initially looked down on Yi Zhao Go. He had the capital. He had a spirit value of 124 points. Even with so many saints in ancient Cold City, there were only a few that could surpass him in spirit value. Yi Zhao Go acted as if he was facing a great enemy. The sword in his hand suddenly pierced, ding, the sword tip seemed to have pierced into a shadow, the sword blade suddenly bending. The astonishing power caused his palm to heat up, but he did not dare to be distracted, and concentrated with all his might. The light was like rain entering the sword blade. There was no dazzling light aura, only a faint and gentle light aura. This was the path that belonged to him, Yi Zhao Go. This was a tyrannical and fierce demon without any weaknesses. Tang Tian's heart trembled. He felt a strong sense of danger. Yi Zhao Go, who was in front of him, was like a regiment of light. Although gentle but pervasive, in that moment, he felt as if he had nowhere to hide. After being locked up for a full 15 years, using countless torture methods, the red-haired fellow was like a demon, his gaze forever filled with cold mockery. Ever since the clan elder told him, the imprint was William's, in his heart, he had already sentenced the mysterious young man who defeated him to death. That was William, the infamous red demon William. So beautiful. 544 points. The big-statured man sucked in a cold breath, his face changed. Tang Tian of course did not have any good intentions. He initially thought that he had cheated someone, but in the end, he was almost cheated. This feeling was extremely terrible. When Elder Rong Bo was here, Tang Tian was unscrupulous. Now that Elder Rong Bo was not here, truly. When enemies meet, their eyes turn red. His body lit up with a faint light aura. He saw this as an opportunity to sharpen himself. It was a rare opportunity for so many saints to gather. The sword's shadow completely disappeared in the air. During their last encounter, although this mysterious man showed obvious hostility towards him, his killing intent was not strong. Today, the naked killing intent seemed to have materialized. He admired Elder Rong Bo a lot, but he didn't agree with all of Elder Rong Bo's ideas, such as not using a knife to kill. The elder liked to scheme, but that was not what he was good at. His future path was to use the blade to kill. Tong Gu only nodded his head. He did not refute. He came from Onyx Soul. Naturally his understanding of blood meridians was not something the big-sized man could compare to. Indeed, there were no fluctuations of divine blood, but the few that he knew of were completely different. The battle between the two instantly alerted the saints of ancient Cold City. Although the energy fluctuations were not strong, the momentum was quite frightening. Everyone was even more interested when they saw the two of them fighting. Tonga muttered, "It's hard to say, but this person should have some background, just that we have not clarified it yet." The energy from the fist and sword clashing exploded in the air. Ripples after ripples in the air were produced and dissipated at an astonishing speed. The ripples that dissipated were like blades or swords, bringing forth incessant sounds of breaking the air. Tang Tian did not even say a word. He exerted strength in his legs, and his body disappeared into the sound barrier. The two of them were like two blood meridian saints, using the most direct method of attack, without any fanciful moves. Who knows, it might be a special kind of saint blood. The big-sized man laughed. He was only joking. The mysterious man trained in the form spirit. The higher-ups of the martial group were enraged, and stripped his saint spirit. Even when he was stripping his saint spirit, the cold ridicule in his eyes did not change. His corpse that was tied to the pillar of trial did not have any signs of decay. He looked at Tang Tian in a daze. He was somewhat envious, as expected of the number 1 bronze-ranked spirit technique of the Honorable Martial Alliance. He continued to ask, how is their physical body strength? Are they walking the path of Blood Meridian saints? Glimmer. He did not die. This fellow actually did not die. Tong Ji's spirit was roused. The big-sized man beside him also kept his smile, and revealed a serious expression. A wisp of ice-cold, demonic red flame wrapped around his fist. But none of the spirit techniques that he trained in could be compared to Glimmer. Tang Tian saw Yi Zhaogu activating Glimmer, and became even more excited. The last time with Glimmer, he paid the price of both his hands to win. Tang Tian was an out-and-out battle maniac. On this point, he was no different from Ling Su. Towards the majority of things, he did not take them into his mind, but towards battles, his focus was extremely high, far surpassing normal martial artists. Yi Zhaoji's pupils were ice-cold, the energy in the air around him quickly ignited. Tang Tian did not summon Little Fool, but brazenly rushed towards Yi Zhaogu. Yi Zhaogu only felt the hair on his body standing. An intense sense of danger surfaced in his mind. The opponent wanted to kill him. The speed of both parties was extremely fast. The stripped martial spirit was extremely strong, extremely pure, but no one in the Honorable Martial Alliance dared to use it. This demon-like murderer would definitely not let go of any chance for revenge. Even after death, he would not let it go. Everywhere he passed, the air ripples that came into contact with everything, all shattered into pieces, ice shards flying everywhere. He did not die. His movements were not fast, but it gave people a feeling of ease, without any ruthlessness or craziness. A flower in a greenhouse would definitely not grow into a useful person. In the past, he was known for his craziness and battle thirst. After being bestowed as a saint, although his explosive craziness was restrained, but he was not afraid of competition and battles. Tong Gu explained, he has not even entered the sect. For a Glimmer to be able to become the number 1 bronze spirit technique in the Honorable Martial Alliance is because of its uniqueness. The initial spirit value of training requires 25 points. In the history of the Honorable Martial Alliance, the saints who trained Glimmer to the highest realm, in the end the spirit value of Glimmer reached 544 points. If a Blood Meridian saint wanted to increase his strength, he had to continuously evolve. Not far away, a few people were also watching the battle. One of them was Tong Gu. The big-sized man beside him said, "Do you think this person can be roped in?" Suddenly, he felt something, and could not help but raise his head. When he saw the person not far away, he was instantly stunned. Like a flaming meteorite falling from the sky, bringing with it a rumble that caused people to tremble, suddenly arrived. Tang Tian grinned at him. Yi Zhaogu was 100% sure. That smile definitely did not have any good intentions. The battle outside the city last time was a feast for everyone's eyes. Forever pursuing personal strength, this point, he would definitely not waver. Tang Tian's eyes suddenly became serious, without any hesitation. His body was like an arrow, raising his fist, bringing with it a whistling sound. If it was said that the promotion of a spirit domain saint was to expand the spirit domain, then the promotion of a blood meridian saint was to continuously evolve the saint blood. There were 2 directions for the saint blood to evolve. One was to purify, the other was to devour. Such a terrifying talent. Saint blood was strange, especially those blood meridian saints that walked the path of devouring. The saint blood that they cultivated was even stranger. Finally unable to hold it in anymore. It was not that he had too many pursuits towards the spirit law. The elder's words were not wrong. The accumulation of the honorable group was far from what the outside world could compare to. As long as he could maintain a higher rate of improvement, the honorable group would definitely not be stingy. Ever since Elder Rongbo left, Yi Zhaogu had always maintained a low profile. Although he was a genius of the Honorable Martial Alliance, but in the Saints, he was a complete newbie. If he could completely comprehend glimmer, among the bronze saints, he would definitely be invincible. But now, it was more important to tuck his tail between his legs and be a talent. A spirit technique that required 25 spirit value points from the start was already very powerful, and to be able to expand to 544 points, that was enough to prove that the law contained in this spirit technique was rather high level. Because only high-level spirit techniques had such a shocking expansion space. So Yi Zhao Gu thought that fellow was dead for sure. In the entire Honorable Martial Alliance, no one believed that devouring William's Saint Spirit would be safe and sound. He was already considering to go to the front lines after a period of time and go through the tempering of blood and fire to be able to improve even faster. Blood Meridian's saints were different from other saints, their blood meridians would undergo a qualitative change. This brand new blood meridians contained extremely astonishing power, was called Saint Blood, and the Saint Blood itself was a special type of spirit domain. Among the spectators, many of them revealed looks of surprise. Tong Ji's eyes suddenly lit up. Yi Zhao Gu had improved. His expression was as though he had seen a ghost. He quickly felt tired. He understood the opponent's intention. It was to use such a fast rhythm, swift and fierce attacks, to make him unable to activate glimmer. Yi Zhao Ji's face was emotionless. His expression was serene, as though he had comprehended something. Even the sword light was gentle and sharp. Yi Zhao Gu does not live up to his name. The big-sized man shook his head, his eyes filled with disappointment. Is this glimmer? Glimmer. But this person appeared. His eyes lit up with a faint light aura, the shadows in his eyes became much slower. But it was only slower, he needed to be fully focused to be able to barely keep up. Tonggu shook his head. Yi Zhao Gu has blood meridians in his body. I am not sure about that mysterious man. The mysterious man is slightly stronger, but it is a little weird. I did not feel the undulation of Saint Blood. It is not a blood meridian saint. His physical strength was quickly depleting, although he had blood meridians, but after being bestowed as a saint, he still walked the path of the Honorable Martial Alliance, and his blood meridians did not evolve. The battle from the last time, in his mind, was repeatedly replayed. William's hands were stained with the blood of the Honorable Martial Alliance. The number of elites of the martial group that died in his hands were unknown, and there were even more than 10 saints. The martial group used an astonishing amount of power to capture him, but, no matter what methods they used, they were unable to obtain any valuable information from him. He was even more dissatisfied with the bitter battles he had suffered in the past. His hatred for failure had already seeped into his bones. Ding ding ding. Very quickly, Yi Zhao Gu sensed that something was wrong. No, if this goes on, my physical strength will be exhausted, and that will be bad. Chapter 509. Previously, in his eyes, the coma-dormant spear was already extremely crude. And after a round of cramming, he looked down on it even more. In truth, he did not like the elegant cold flame. But luckily the elegant cold flame only required 10 spirit value points. The entry-level refining spirit technique required 10 spirit value points. It showed that spirit treasures were not easy to refine. He did not feel any energy. What was that? He went underground. Tang Tian was silent. After a while, he raised his head. What kind of person is he? Little fool is so powerful. Song Yang Yu laughed. Any desperate person will be willing to be bribed like this. Song Yang Yu muttered. I am not clear about his matters, but looking at the time, he should be preparing for his funeral. The reason why I did not directly give it to you, for an old man like me, I can roughly understand. If I have a very important but dangerous thing, I hope that my descendant can take it, but I am worried that he does not have the ability to do so, and will lose his life in vain. Like this, if you do not have the ability, then it will disappear by itself. If you have the ability, then you will have the chance to find it. Of course, this is just my guess. The surroundings were dead silent, so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. The saints, who did not change their expressions in front of them, could not hide the shock on their faces. "What do you plan to do with him? Kill him?" Fu Zihong pointed to the unconscious Yi Zhaogu and asked Tang Tian. Bing looked at Tang Tian and sighed in his heart. It was a good thing that Song Yang had explained everything clearly, as Crazy Tang could not hide his thoughts. He had also swept through the 500 remnant spirit treasures. But the battle would not start so soon. Fu Zihong had said that the single-valve stronghold had been lost for many years, and the opponent would definitely not rush over. Taking advantage of this time, Tang Tian had many questions to ask Song Yongyu. They initially thought that it would be a fierce battle, and to them, Yi Zhaogu had a higher chance of winning. Previously, Tang Tian's victory, in the eyes of the majority, stemmed from Yi Zhaoji's underestimation of the enemy. Tang Tian suddenly raised his head and asked, "Did he mention my mother?" Bing was slightly disappointed. He turned and asked Tang Tian, "What else do you want to ask?" "What exactly did you do at that time?" he was still exclaiming in his heart. As expected of Glimmer, but the turn of events after that was something he could never have imagined. Little Fool decided to refine his first spirit treasure. Little Fool was fully immersed in his work. The few spirit books on refining spirit treasures, Little Fool glanced at them and threw them to the side. With his IQ, he only needed to glance at the simple content. "The thing he left for me." Tang Tian was a little absent-minded. "Why didn't he give it to me directly?" Bing opened his mouth, but did not say a word. After a while, he asked, "Is it worth it?" The deafening explosion and blinding light that he imagined did not appear. The gentle light sword burst like a bubble. It looked at Little Fool with admiration. "Yi Zhaogu!" Fu Zihong jumped in fright. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Hao Ran, who were at the side, were also startled. They had heard the commotion outside the residence, but they did not expect that it was caused by Tang Tian, and that he had even captured Yi Zhaogu. No. Song Yongyu shook his head. His condition at that time was already very bad, as though he was injured. He only said that he was going to do something very important, and did not say anything else. But I think, to drag his injured body and go, to arrange for his funeral, it must be something dangerous that he had no choice but to do. Bang! Song Yongyu laughed. "Why is it not worth it? Just like your comrades, there are many things that you think are worth it. If you think it is not worth it, then there will be no such things. What's wrong with your body?" Bing looked at Song Yongyu. But the scene that happened just now was clearly seen by everyone. Even Glimmer could be destroyed. That was something that Tang Tian did not expect. But his sharp intuition, when the opportunity appeared, his body had already instinctively reacted. Wait a minute, his figure disappeared like a ghost, teleporting, and at the same time, a palm extended out from behind Yi Zhaoji's head. Yi Zhaogu then awoke from his daze. Before he could release his energy shield, his throat tightened. A strong force caused his chi to become chaotic, and the energy shield that was not fully formed immediately dissipated. He had already lost the ability to resist. The wealth on Yi Zhaoji's body made Tang Tian extremely disappointed. He was after all one of the top geniuses in the Honorable Martial Alliance. How could he be so poor? How could it be? Yes. Tang Tian nodded his head. What exactly is Sexton's Eye? What does the spirit general beside him look like? Bing suddenly asked. It's spirit transformation. Song Yongyu explained. The cold wave here is too heavy. It is beneficial to martial spirits, but to humans it is extremely disadvantageous. I might as well spirit transform myself. After spirit transformation, I will become an existence similar to a spirit general, and can instead train here. Song Yongyu smiled. You have doubts? Tang Tian regained his senses. I bought it. He had always been trying to figure out how to use this weird flame. Later on, he realized that this flame was extremely unique. It could annihilate energy. This discovery made him feel as though he had obtained a treasure. He started to think about how to use it in battle. He turned and asked Tang Tian. "Hey, little Tang Tian, have you bought it?" Song Yang Yu revealed a look of reminiscence. "This is hard for me to describe. Some people say that he is ambitious and ruthless. Some say that he has a pure heart. But in my heart, he is the one who saved my life, the one who gave me hope." Yi Zhaogu only felt his vision blur. He was in a room. Before he could react, he teleported again. After teleporting a few times, Yi Zhaogu had already lost all sense of where he was. The opponent's meticulousness made him secretly fearful. This escape route was definitely carefully chosen. Song Yang Yu's words were like a heavy hammer that struck Tang Tian's heart. He could not help but clench his fist. He casually threw Yi Zhaogu to Fu Zihong and the rest. "Maybe he intentionally bribed you." Bing's voice came out. "I don't know." Song Yang Yu revealed a look of reminiscence. His body was shrouded in black smoke. He did not speak much. He was extremely strong. The big-sized man beside him had a face of shock. Although he previously thought that Yi Zhaogu did not live up to his name, but Yi Zhaoji's sword made him change his opinion. He had already been a saint for 20 years. Due to the lack of resources, he could not improve further. But his accumulation was deep, and was much stronger than the average person. Yi Zhaoji's mind was shaken. He never thought that he would actually enter the grounds master establishment. This mysterious man was actually someone from the Cangyang fighting grounds. Yaya's small eyes widened as he stared at the white flame. Every time the opponent teleported, he would land inside a house. The distance of teleportation was only 500 m. But the complicated terrain of the city gave him the best help. If he did not even know where he was, how could the people outside find him? Yi Zhaogu was obviously startled. He had already prepared for the explosion. Although the glimmer looked gentle, but when it exploded, it would be extremely violent. Tang Tian did not think that the effect would be so good. But he had originally planned to use it to surprise others, and then grab hold of this flaw. This was the grounds master establishment. Yi Zhaoji's glimmer sword was definitely not weak. This time, Yi Zhaogu would definitely not underestimate his opponent. Not only that, from the sword just now, Yi Zhaogu had obviously improved. This terrifying talent caused everyone to be shocked. It also made them believe that Yi Zhaogu would obtain the final victory. "Alright, let us try." Bing was also eager to try. After going out for a walk, Tang Tian had already deeply understood the high prices of goods in the Saint world. Star coins were like water. Tang Tian, who had not lacked money for a long time, was already feeling the pressure. Yi Zhaoji's head was hit hard. His vision immediately turned black and he fainted. Tang Tian understood the logic of rare goods being hoarded. A genius saint, such a person should be worth some money. Little Fool had already confirmed that he was extremely suitable to refined spirit treasures. As the spirit was extremely pure, it allowed him to control energy to an unimaginable level. In the process of refining spirit treasures, the control of the flames, the adjustment of the internal structure of the star treasure, all required a strong and precise control, and that was what Little Fool was most proficient in. If he could have a deeper understanding of laws in the future, he would be able to become a strong spirit treasure master. Anyone with a bit of insight would know that it was the strange red flame, but no one actually recognized it. Everyone had not regained their senses from the shock, because the one that was broken was Glimmer, the #1 bronze spirit technique in the Honorable Martial Alliance. Glimmer. Just now, what was that? Fu Zhongshan and the rest had always been paying attention to the situation in ancient Cold City. Yi Zhaogu was such a famous genius, how could they not know him? Just that they did not expect that after going out for a walk, Tang Tian would have one more captive, and it was such a famous genius. To Tang Tian, who had astonishing intuition, how could he let go of the fact that the opponent was in a daze during the battle? Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Tang Tian grabbed onto Yi Zhao Ji's throat with one hand, and his figure suddenly disappeared. Blink! But he did not have the time to fear. His face was filled with disbelief, and his mind was filled with only one thought. Asshole! Who exactly are you? That red flame. Tang Tian completely ignored the gazes from all directions. He was extremely pleased with himself. In the martial spirit chamber, Little Fool extended his chubby palm. Whoosh! A white flame rose up, the white flame, emitting a cold intent, that was Cygnus constellation's graceful cold flame. Bing laughed involuntarily. That's true. Tang Tian had already started to plunder all the valuables on Yi Zhao Ji's body without caring about his image, without raising his head. Kill him? Don't kill him. It would be a pity to kill him. I have decided to ask the Yi family for ransom. He should be worth at least 100 billion star coins. He carefully extended his palm and touched the flame, a layer of frost quickly spreading along his fingers. Yaya shivered, the thick flesh on his body rippled like water. With a squeak, he jumped far away. What is that? Tonga muttered to himself. It is a coordinate. Song Yang explained. But it is not the coordinate of the treasure deposit that is rumored to be outside, but something he left for you, and only you can open it. The result in front of him was something he did not expect. Chapter 510. Tang Tian picked up another copper box. He wanted to seal the blade imprint inside, but the thin stream, when it touched the copper box, sigh, a light paper tearing sound, the copper box was instantly smashed into pieces. The thin stream immediately retracted back into Tang Tian's body, and once again became a blade imprint. Little Fool secretly clenched his small fists. He loosened them. It was just the beginning. He then took out 12 arrows. It was the bronze treasure of Sagittarius constellation, the 4 seasons arrows. Spring, summer, autumn and winter, every series of bronze arrows had 3 arrows. He could only think of it that way. Little Fool had ingeniously merged the stars into the spirit treasure. Seeing this spirit treasure, no one would ever think of the Ursa Major star's umbrella. But Little Fool was able to use the various transformations of the Ursa Major star's umbrella. Do you guys need the imprints inside the spirit treasure? Song Yang suddenly asked. Interesting, zero-energy body. Song Yang pondered. That's right, if the spirit transformation is a complete energy body, then there will definitely be a zero-energy body. Origin imprint, this name is good. This way to comprehend laws, although it will be more difficult, but it is more direct. Without the modification of energy, it will be closer to the essence of the laws. After moving the star rocks, it curiously guarded at the side. In any case, there was a pile of star rocks as a sponsorship fee. Yaya looked at Little Fool with envy. Little Fool was so powerful, he could float in the air while meditating. Tang Tian did not believe it, and picked up another copper box. The result was the same. The copper box was once again destroyed by the sharp blade aura. After completing the 3 materials, Little Fool did not continue immediately, but instead sat cross-legged and meditated. The difficulty of refining the materials was not considered high, it was just a matter of grinding. He was just warming it up, although he had absolute confidence in himself, but he was never careless. Tang Tian's mind moved. He felt a thin stream of energy flowing from his fingertips into the crystal copper box, and on the surface of the crystal copper box, a whirlwind imprint appeared. Little Fool did not feel it. Time passed, and he threw a few star rocks into his mouth. He was secretly surprised. The difficulty of refining spirit treasures was much higher than what he had imagined. He finally understood why spirit treasures were so expensive. In terms of purity, the energy in his body could not compare to the other saints, but in terms of quantity, the other saints could not catch up to him. This time, Bing brought the crystal copper box. It was the size of a mung bean cake. Its surface was glossy, not as dark as normal bronze, but slightly brighter. But on the surface, it was still quite inconspicuous. But Tang Tian looked at the entire chest of remnant spirit treasures in front of him, and suddenly realized an important problem. He stammered. How do I get the imprint out? The ball of light flew into Tang Tian's body. Were they all poor? Okay, let's call it Yaya Umbrella. Song Yang Yu waved his hand towards one of the remnant spirit treasures, and the remnant spirit treasure flew towards him. He turned and asked Bing, "The outer shell is useless?" He first refined an umbrella handle. He chose a treasure from Lacerta Scorpion constellation, bronze rank, dark copper rod. The graceful cold flame quickly wrapped around the copper rod, like flowing white sand, continuously polishing the copper rod. Seeing that, Yaya immediately placed the star rocks in front of Little Fool, and in the blink of an eye, the star rocks in front of Little Fool were piled up like a mountain. The finished product made Little Fool more satisfied. The snow-white umbrella surface, the reflection of the lake under the snowy mountains, and the faint ripples of the water could be seen. Ordinary bronze rank spirit treasures would not have more than 3 treasures, but Little Fool, who had always been conceited, would not be interested in ordinary goods. Song Yang Yu muttered to himself. Tang Tian wanted to try again, but was stopped by Bing. Let's get rid of these remnant spirit treasures first. Little Fool thought about the pile of star rocks just now. This was what it meant to be taken advantage of. Little Fool was satisfied. The graceful cold flame was indeed a good choice for the entry-level refining spirit techniques. At least the appearance of the refined items was not bad. Just looking at the thin rod, it was comparable to a work of art. Other people did not have enough spirit value, and were unable to train in new spirit techniques, but he had a lot of empty spirit value slots, but did not have any spirit techniques to train in. Towards the first spirit treasure that he had refined, Little Fool was extremely confident, and muttered to himself, "What name should I give you?" Song Yang Yu floated over, and asked curiously, "What is this?" Tang Tian's eyes widened, and without waiting for him to react, a few rays of light aura flew out from Tang Tian's body, and a whirlwind imprint appeared on Tang Tian's palm. It definitely cannot be like this. Bing was startled, rubbing his chin. He was not too sure. This is indeed a problem. Don't tell me you want to eat it? Why not? You try it. The taste of spirit treasures, I think it should be good. Maybe it's delicious. Seal it in the crystal copper box, Bing immediately said. When Yaya heard that, it immediately came over and started to make Yaya gestures non-stop. Feeling Yaya's happiness, Little Fool's mood also became better. If you can think of another way, I don't mind. Bing waved his hand, a face of helplessness. Don't tell me you intend for our grand plan to fail prematurely? Origin imprint box. Bing proudly pointed at Tang Tian. This fellow has a zero-energy body. His body will strongly repel energy-converted things. After these imprints lose their energy, they will become origin imprints, and seal the origin imprint in the copper box, and it will become the origin imprint box. Yaya immediately beamed with joy, jumped to Little Fool's side, carried Little Fool on his back, and then flew around the martial spirit chamber, his mouth releasing ee-ya sounds of joy. Little Fool's spirit value was as high as 80 points, teleportation took up 10 points, graceful cold flame took up 10 points, and there was still 60 points of space. The spirit technique of the Ursa Major Star's umbrella required him to comprehend it himself, but he had to reserve spirit value. Little Fool felt that the potential of the Ursa Major Star's umbrella was huge, and he planned to reserve 30 points of spirit value. Tang Tian's face immediately turned green. Eat? Hey, uncle, are you kidding me? Little Fool understood Yaya's meaning and shook his head. No way. Bing whistled and was slightly excited. Success! Next was the umbrella cover. Little Fool chose the bronze treasure of Cygnus constellation, the Lake Shadow Cloak. The graceful cold flame refining Cygnus constellation treasures could be said to yield twice the results with half the effort. Little Fool could clearly feel that the energy consumption was much smaller. Who knows? Bing shrugged his shoulders. We have to speed up, we don't have much time. He was rather picky. I, little fool, am so good to you, but you can't even give me a name. Can we still play happily together? Are we still good brothers? Can our feelings not even be compared to a name? I have already given you all my rations, and you are actually like this. You are not loyal, as a spirit general. How can you be like this? That's right. Bing nodded his head. Do you have any ideas? Everyone jumped in fright. Little Fool's eyes flashed with a light aura, his exquisite face revealed a look of concentration. Little Fool concentrating on controlling the graceful cold flame. The martial spirit of a bronze-rank star treasure was not strong enough, it had the most impurities, and required patience to refine and purify, to raise its quality. The umbrella ribs were completed. Seems like this blade seal is not an ordinary item. Bing was slightly surprised. Your luck, this rascal is surprisingly good. Bing did not use the 09 bronze, but after communicating with Sai Lei, he ordered a new metal that Sai Lei had recommended, crystal copper. The cold, graceful cold flame wrapped around the arrow. The sharp tip of the arrow was polished perfectly round like a water droplet. The arrow body became even thinner and even more transparent. The spring arrow body was like a tender emerald. The summer arrow was like a hot and unrestrained polished red crystal. The autumn arrow was like a mature wheat ear. The winter arrow was as transparent as an icicle in the winter. The ambition to be the master must not be given up. While Little Fool was refining the spirit treasures, Tang Tian and Bing were also preparing for the upcoming battle. Little Fool checked the arrows one by one, seeing that there were no flaws. His face revealed a satisfied smile. Little Fool said weakly, his childish voice was filled with helplessness. Why is it that around this fool, even Bud's spirit generals are so stupid? 12 bronze arrows were thrown into the graceful cold flame. All right, although it was not worthy of my meticulously crafted masterpiece, but it can be considered as a sponsor. No. Bing shook his head. Little Fool secretly decided, after this wave of things was over, he wanted to refine the spirit treasures and earn a sum of money. If the future plans were to fall into the hands of the fool, then it would only be dragged into the abyss of stupidity. Little Fool looked at the finished product in front of him, his exquisite face revealing a tinge of pride. Inside the white, graceful cold flame, the bronze rod slowly became thinner. Little Fool replenished 2 more star rocks. Following the removal of the impurities on the rod body, the bronze rod became glossy, shining with an enchanting light aura, and actually had a bit of a crystalline texture. If the refining spirit technique was more powerful, the quality should be able to go up another level. Alright, the graceful cold flame that had a spirit value of 10 points, to be able to reach this stage was already pretty good. Yaya Umbrella? How could such a masterpiece have such a name? Bing's spirit was roused, pointing at Tang Tian. Imprint the seal into his body. That meant that he still had 30 points of spirit value left. The graceful cold flame emitted a cold intent, causing the surroundings to be dyed with a layer of frost. The demonic and exquisite umbrella handle, the black gecko, attached to the handle body, the 2 blood pupils, were exactly where Little Fool was holding. The 12 umbrella ribs contained the changes of the 4 seasons. The umbrella's surface was like a painting, the water rippled, the reflection of the snowy mountain on the water surface. The most amazing thing was the starry sky above the snowy mountain, which was also reflected in the lake. Such a passive situation could not be allowed to continue. Song Yongyu nodded his head, without saying a word. A thread of mist coiled around the spirit treasure, quickly seeping into it. His eyes suddenly lit up with a ball of light aura. The mist wrapped around a dim light ball and flew out. Little Fool was speechless. He understood Yaya's anger. Maybe I can try. Song Yongyu explained. After my spirit transformation, I am powerless against physical objects, but towards energy objects, my control has increased by a lot. Yaya was immediately angered. With a pout, he jumped up and down around Little Fool, squeaking non-stop. When Little Fool dispersed the graceful cold flame, a slender long rod that his small hands could hold landed in his hands. The slender rod was thicker than chopsticks, Little Fool's hands were too small, and he was helpless. The rod's body had a translucent crystal texture, the black stripes formed an ice-cold gecko, entrenched on the rod's body. The two demonic red spots were like ice-cold blood pupils. But, even with his surging energy, he felt that his energy could not keep up, then the other saints could only imagine. Also, the graceful cold flame was only a 10-point spirit value entry-level refining spirit technique. In the future, when refining spirit techniques with higher spirit value, the consumption of energy would be even more terrifying, and the consumption would be long-lasting. Chapter 5:11. Another saint barged in, and in 10 seconds, the light barrier turned green. The legendary lost single-valve stronghold, and the unfathomable Tsang Yu. For the next few days, no one dared to challenge the stronghold. Soon after, another brave saint who did not believe in evil stepped into the stronghold with a face full of killing intent. Then, in less than 10 seconds, the light barrier turned green again. When Shi Feng saw the enemy in front of him, it was as if he was struck by lightning. He was completely dumbfounded. Coupled with the meticulously arranged dark caves, even a saint would find it hard to escape unscathed. Once he stepped into the light barrier, his face changed. This light barrier was weird. This defeat was too fast. He immediately extended his hand to try, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not get out. "I surrender!" the other party shouted, causing Shi Feng to wake up from his daze. "Win in one move? This little one will follow Master's lead from now on. I will follow your orders." Due to the battle between Tang Tian and Yi Zhaoguo, there was a huge uproar. When people realized that the groundsmaster's residence had changed beyond recognition, it was already noon. This strange shape was obviously intentional. The saints were definitely a group of people with the most profound knowledge. Very quickly they found the name Single Valve Fortress, and some of the characteristics of the Single Valve Fortress were also revealed. At the same time, Little Fool of the Martial Spirit Chamber opened his eyes. Is it coming? He was also looking forward to this battle. The first spirit treasure he had refined was finally going to experience the test of battle. The dark caves did not attack, and he arrived in front of the light barrier without any problems. He was slightly nervous, but after thinking about it, if he did not take some risks, how would he gain anything? Gritting his teeth, he stepped into the light barrier. Another saint, in 10 seconds the light barrier turned green. The depth of his schemes was evident. Some of the characteristics of the single-valve stronghold had already been dug out by everyone. Once the light barrier turned red, it meant that the battle was not over. And once the light barrier turned green, it meant that the battle was over. The reason they gave was sufficient. It was not that this fiend was the strongest, but that he was the coldest, most ruthless, and most scheming. Offending him meant that no one would be bitten. The first time he tricked Yi Zhaoguo, this fiend only used the form spirit, and that weird red flame did not appear. And to numb Yi Zhaoguo, he did not hesitate to cripple his own arms. Sensing that someone had arrived, Tang Tian opened his eyes. Could it be some kind of powerful special spirit technique? Someone whispered. Therefore, when Shi Feng saw Tang Tian, his last bit of hope was completely extinguished. And when he saw the waiter's umbrella, he shivered. This person actually had a trump card. He had never taken this umbrella out before. Shi Feng had done some research on spirit treasures, and upon seeing Yaya's umbrella, he knew that it was of outstanding quality. One-on-one. Renru Hai frowned. How is that possible? Hence, before the opportunity presented itself, it was better to put on an act. Who was inside? Meng Ta remained calm as he slowly walked into the stronghold. The reason why the single-valve fortress could force the enemy into a one-on-one battle was not only because of the crisscrossing layers of dark caves, but also because of the place Tang Tian was currently guarding, the light barrier at the valve mouth. Let's go take a look at the single-valve fortress, Renruhai said. This time, there were no gasps of cold air, there was no sound at all. Everyone was completely shocked. On the third day, someone entered the single-valve fortress, and immediately attracted everyone's attention. No one wanted to be the first to stand out. It must be an extremely powerful saint. The people outside could not see the situation inside the stronghold, but Fu Zhongshan and the rest who were watching from the dark caves could see everything clearly, and they were completely dumbfounded. What was going on? How could this be? 1-on-1? 1 gold treasure, 36 silver treasures, 72 bronze treasures, were arranged by Bing in this area, and thus formed a roughly 300 m diameter hemispherical light barrier. Treasures, cold wave, star power, formed a perfect light barrier to seal off the area, and if there were more than 2 people in this area, it would be forbidden to enter. That fool's attitude towards his enemies had always been extremely ruthless, and for a potential enemy like him, he would definitely not be merciful. Although he could not kill him, he would definitely be able to completely suppress him. Shi Feng surrendered without hesitation. Other than Tang Tian's origin seal, there was also a lot of analysis of Tang Tian's battle. This beast's schemes were truly deep and terrifying. The single-valve fortress is an ancient fortress that has been lost for a long time, and has not appeared for a long time. I never expected it to appear here. Tong Ji's tone had a tinge of surprise. The single-valve fortress's greatest specialty is that it can forcefully form a one-on-one situation. Tang Tian took a deep breath and said, "Come, let's fight to the death." Renruhai was curious. But, 1-on-1, where did they get their confidence from? Although Fu Zhongshan's strength is not bad, but he is far from being able to fight with us. Shi Feng immediately felt like dying. Why did he jump out to be the first to stand out? Then who could it be? Renruhai asked. This was especially so for the saints who had discussed with Shi Feng before. Their expressions changed slightly. This guess caused many to be excited and agitated. Shi Feng straightforwardly surrendered, causing Tang Tian, who was just about to pounce forward, to stop himself and looked at Shi Feng in shock. Little fool. He had made up his mind, if there were any signs, he would immediately run back. One sect with 3 saints, that was an extremely impressive achievement. Song Yongyu's strength had never been displayed before, and no one knew, but to be able to groom 3 saint disciples, he was definitely not simple, and no one dared to look down on him. Although Shi Feng was a saint from a small place, but he still had some foundation. How could he be defeated so quickly? Shi Feng originally did not want to be the first to stand out, but he still held onto his luck and decided to give it a try. He had always stayed in the Delphinus constellation, which was a small constellation in the northern skies 19 continent. This time, he also had the attitude of giving it a try. When everyone was discussing, they all agreed that they should definitely not be enemies with him. A few nosy saints even made a list of dangerous people. On it were people that they could not provoke, and this person was impressively at the top of the list. He had been guarding here for 3 days, and was already getting impatient. In truth, I am also not sure. Tonggu shook his head. This type of fortress has already been lost, and no one knows the theory behind it. When Brother Li was here, did you hear of it? Such a terrifying and ambitious person, how could he, an ordinary saint, be his opponent? Was it finally here? Could it really be Song Yongyu? Tonggu calmed down, his eyes flashing with a strange light. Seems like the main character has appeared. They did not know that the battle where Tang Tian kidnapped Yi Zhaogu was currently the hottest topic in the entire ancient cold city. What exactly was the flame on Tang Tian's fist? Until now, no one had discussed it. To be able to restrain the glimmer, such a spirit technique was definitely not an ordinary spirit technique. But no one was able to say where it came from, causing the saints to be bewildered. The more he thought about it, the more afraid he felt, his thoughts diverging even further. Could it be that ancient cold city was actually a scam set up by this person? Very possible. If not, why would this person appear in the groundsmaster's residence? Could it be that he was the real mastermind behind this scam? They truly did not understand. Where did Song Yang Fighting Grounds get their confidence from? Fu Zhongshan's strength was considered not bad among the Bronze Saints, but he was definitely not a top expert. This checkpoint should only be placed when there were absolute strong martial artists. How could the Song Yang Fighting Grounds have absolute martial artists? Unless Song Yang Yu was planning to personally appear? Tang Tian took a deep breath and stood up. And this time, after Rong Bo left, this person then displayed his true strength. He did not even use his form spirit, and easily took down Yi Zhaoguo. When the fifth saint barged in 10 seconds, the light barrier turned green. This time, no one dared to make a sound. In everyone's eyes, the stronghold was like a monster with its bloody mouth wide open, waiting to devour people. This caused everyone to be extremely surprised. Maybe we will know in a while. Tonga laughed. I believe there will definitely be a lot of people who will not be able to hold back. Shi Feng's heart trembled. This was a life and death battle. And Yi Zhaoguo was also killed like this. It was still unknown whether he was dead or alive. These few days, he tried his best to not appear in front of Tang Tian. He suddenly realized a problem. If Tang Tian knew of his true identity, with his character, his own days would be even more difficult. This was the first battle. Tang Tian did not dare to be negligent. A good start was more important than anything else. Little fool, Yaya, all come out. Tang Tian had to give it his all. That mysterious person and Yi Zhaoji's movements? Renru Hai asked. There is no news at the moment, but one thing is for sure, Yi Zhaogu is not dead. Tong Gu said. He had insider information. Although Yi Zhaogu had disappeared, he was not dead. Isn't this the mysterious person who kidnapped Yi Zhaogu? Shi Feng's face was full of smiles, and he was extremely careful. Definitely not Fu Zhongshan. The saints who were watching the battle outside the groundsmaster residence only saw the light barrier turning red not long ago, suddenly turning green. Everyone could not help but gasp at the same time. Everyone's conclusion was the same. This person was extremely dangerous. Decisive in killing, ruthless and cruel, for the sake of winning in 20 moves. He did not hesitate to mutilate his own hands. Such a ruthless person must definitely not be provoked. Looking at his shocking battle instincts, terrifying battle instincts, but what was truly terrifying was his unfathomable shrewdness. Tong Gu and the rest's faces were extremely ugly. Li Ruo was hysterical. Impossible! Absolutely impossible! The old man has already soul transformed. He definitely can't fight. I want to see, what kind of saint is this? A burly man snorted and stepped out from the crowd. Seems like I can only fight to the death. He made up his mind. Tang Tian's body slightly leaned forward, as though he was about to pounce. Li Ruo's injuries had already recovered, he said with resentment. It must be that old bastard, seems like he has been guarding against me since the beginning. Everyone's spirit was shaken. This person was called Meng Ta, one of the strongest saints in ancient Cold City. His spirit value was as high as 136 points. He had been famous for many years, and his battle experience was extremely rich. Many people's eyes lit up. That's right, it might be some kind of special spirit technique. Usually this type of spirit technique, usually powerful, but the consumption is also very high. Chapter 5:12. Then let's work together. Meng Ta said contentedly. The outcome was better than what he had imagined, and he could accept it. He could not even feel bad about it. The other party did not do it on purpose, it was all because of the situation. This battle was not easy. But the situation, how did it become like this? Work together? Meng Ta was startled and asked, How do we work together? He regretted getting involved in this mess. Bing felt that the situation before him was extremely exquisite. One by one, they could not escape, they had to make a choice, and the best thing was that the independent saints came to him. He could not blame anyone. It was him. The other was to surrender. Too shameless. He was eagerly waiting for a strong martial artist to come and defeat the fool. Not good, someone beat me to it. Meng Ta's expression was calm. I did not expect you to be the one guarding, what a surprise. With just a few words, Tang Tian could feel the confidence that Meng Ta had in his strength. An expert. Little fool was fuming with anger. His gaze could kill. He was still holding a grudge against Meng Ta. You did not even make a move, and you still want me to refine a spirit treasure for you? Bing smiled. Subduing the enemy without fighting was the highest level of military strategy. The most important thing was, this feeling was simply too satisfying. Meng Ta's face finally changed. Until Tang Tian revealed his identity, Meng Ta's attitude made Bing's eyes light up. Tang Tian waved his hand. Small matter, when the time comes, I will let little fool refine one for you. That's right, the opponent is also very strong, to be able to hold on for so long. This was intimidation and threats. Meng Ta regained his composure. I do not wish to fight with you, nor do I wish to surrender. What do I do? The muscles on his face kept changing, and returned to his original appearance. Tang Tian stood up and encouraged. You have worked hard. Good, good, good. This is a good idea. Bing praised. Mr. Meng Ta is indeed talented. This is a great achievement. Meng Ta suggested. Master, everyone outside is watching. This is the best opportunity. We only need to purposely attack, create some momentum, and they will think that you are exhausted, and will rush in impatiently. Master, when the battle drags on, the people outside will think that you are struggling to hold on. At that time, you only need to do the same and you will definitely be able to capture all of them in one go. In ancient Cold City, the people from the 12 ecliptic palaces had been sparing no effort to recruit saints, but it was a pity that there were not many results. Most of the independent saints were undisciplined and did not like to be restricted, so it was extremely difficult to recruit these people. Tang Tian was stunned. I don't think so. Meng Ta smiled modestly. You flatter me, master. Let's put it another way. However, these saints were no fools. They were well aware of the consequences of offending an overlord like Tang Tian. If Tang Tian publicly revealed his identity, he would be ganged up on. It would also attract the vigilance of the Honorable Martial Alliance and Onyx Soul, and increase their strength. Looking at the youth in front of him, he smiled bitterly in his heart. This was troublesome. The fact that the other party had revealed their true colors meant that there was no room for compromise between the two sides. Meng Ta had rich battle experience. He knew that in a battle of life and death, it was not entirely dependent on a person's strength. Those who were dangerous would often display extraordinary strength. Even if he was already suppressed to a corner and was in imminent danger, he would still be like a poisonous snake, ready to deal a fatal blow at any time. For the spirit treasures, Meng Ta sold out everyone in the blink of an eye. Meng Ta immediately became excited. If it was said that he still felt a tinge of regret previously, now he only felt that he had profited. Spirit Treasure Master. Tang Tian was actually a Spirit Treasure Master. To the independent saints, Spirit Treasure Masters were the most welcomed. Not far away, Meng Ta continuously bombarded the ground. His power was terrifying. After a while, Meng Ta stopped, wiped his sweat, and said to Tang Tian, Master, it's about time. He was waiting for an opportunity. Only when the fool was heavily injured could he regain control of the body. Little fool, who was wielding Yaya's umbrella, had absolute confidence in his own strength. Meng Ta was startled, and immediately said anxiously, So Master is also proficient in refining spirit treasures. There must be contributions. There must be contributions. Once they joined the Ursa Major constellation, it meant that they could not join other constellations. In the end, a strong martial artist came, and then cowered, and then signed a cooperation contract. Actually, he had hidden a trap in it. In the current situation, to the saints, there were only two choices. Of course, true experts were arrogant, they were tough, they could not be subdued by force. How could they surrender? Meng Ta noticed the Yaya's umbrella in Little Fool's hands, and his eyes lit up. This spirit treasure is not bad. Independent saints were undisciplined and arrogant, but they were definitely not stupid. Stupid people would not be able to become saints. The only one who was not happy was Little Fool. His delicate and adorable face was gloomy. The previous 5 surrenders had already caused him to be unable to tolerate it. With the previous surrenders as a reference, this plan seemed to be much better. Meng Ta did not expect that the opponent would actually think of such a strange plan. After thinking for a while, he understood Bing's intention. It was such a good opportunity. If he were to miss it, he would definitely regret it till his intestines turned green. Meng Ta was overjoyed. "Thank you, master." Simply too shameless. That was the brilliance of Bing. No powerhouse would reject the entry of a saint, on the contrary, every constellation was trying to recruit a saint. Bing's heart was blooming with joy. Furthermore, it was the saints who walked right into the trap. "See, you can't blame me, it was you who barged in yourself. There was no choice, it was not me who wanted you to surrender, it was the stronghold that forced you." If the opponent was just a saint, no matter how powerful he was, Meng Ta would not be afraid. But an overlord was different. Behind an overlord was a huge constellation, countless manpower and resources, there were many experts, it was a huge interest group. "It's my duty, it's my duty," Meng Ta hurriedly replied. He left through the door behind Tang Tian. One was to kill Tang Tian, and then be chased by Ursa Major constellation. Outside the stronghold, when everyone saw that the light barrier did not break, and instead returned to green, there was an uproar. Fu Zihong's eyes lit up. Uncle was really good at borrowing power, to actually break through the situation so easily. Tang Tian glanced at Meng Ta and said lazily, "Do you want to surrender too?" Everyone outside saw that the light barrier was extremely calm, there were no signs of fighting. Suddenly, there was a loud rumble, the light barrier trembled. It was obvious that there was a fight going on inside. "That's easy." A voice came in between the two of them. Bing floated out from Tang Tian's body. He had always been watching the fight. The previous 5 surrenders caused him to be dumbstruck, but he could not help but start to think. Military leaders were the best at thinking. In such a strange situation, an inspiration appeared in Bing's mind. The other party's attitude made Tang Tian retract his lazy look. Of course he knew who Tang Tian was. Ursa Major constellation was like the sun in the sky, consecutively swallowing Sky Dragon constellation and Cetus constellation. Their strength was close to the ecliptic palace constellations. Sitting on such a constellation was the most popular overlord recently. The method of cooperation is simple. You will join our Ursa Major constellation as a partner. We will not force you to participate in the battle, but if you choose to participate, then you will receive a corresponding share of the spoils of war. The more you contribute, the more benefits you will receive. Our Ursa Major constellation is considered a big constellation. In terms of strength, I believe you can be assured, the resources we can obtain will definitely be more than yours. Also, I believe, Ursa Major constellation's initiative, most probably no one will doubt it. The other party is not feeling good either, the battle is too intense. If Tang Tian was outside, using Ursa Major constellation's name, using such a plan, Meng Ta would definitely not care about it. But under such circumstances, he felt that the proposal was not bad, at least there was a certain degree of freedom. He did not put Tang Tian's strength in his eyes, but if he killed Tang Tian, there was no need to wait for tomorrow. Ursa Major constellation would use all their strength to deal with him. His family, disciples, no one would be able to escape. Definitely no constellation would protect him, even the Honorable Martial Alliance would not. Ursa Major constellation was a group of battle maniacs, with a fearsome army, it would immediately signify war. A cold laugh resonated in Little Fool's mind. The saint was not a lone ranger, Meng Ta laughed bitterly. Can I pretend that I have never been here? Unknowingly, they had actually laid out an extremely ingenious plan. Meng Ta's face was full of smiles. My spirit treasures have always been inconvenient, I wonder if Master could. Tang Tian sat on the ground, leisurely eating an apple. Although Tang Tian had already promised, but Meng Ta knew, if he did not contribute, Master might not remember him in the future. Little Fool's gaze towards Meng Ta was filled with disdain and hatred. Little Fool was extremely disdainful of the Fool's origin seal. As expected of Meng Ta, this power is truly terrifying. If they were to use Ursa Major Constellation's name to recruit these saints, not many would be willing to bother with them. The reason why independent saints were free was because they did not want to join other powerhouses. Thinking about this battle, it was a battle of life and death, there was no leeway. Respecting the strong, Tang Tian said calmly, I am Tang Tian, the master of Ursa Major Constellation. When Meng Ta stepped into the light barrier, he saw the person guarding it, and his gaze congealed. He had personally witnessed the battle between Tang Tian and Yi Zhaoguo, and he agreed with the analysis of Yi Zhaoguo that was circulating around. But he was confident in his own strength, and was not afraid, but rather wary. Fu Zhongshan and the rest were completely shocked to the point that they could not speak. When Meng Ta appeared, everyone's heart sank. Meng Ta's reputation was well known, he was an absolute expert, even Fu Zhongshan admitted that he was inferior to him. That's right, for such a long time, such an intense battle, even an iron saint would not be able to endure it. Surrender? Meng Ta chuckled. Although your strength is extraordinary, but it is not enough for me to surrender. But I am very curious about your true identity. The cunning old Bing coughed lightly. We can work together. I just refined it, I have not tried it yet. Tang Tian said. If Tang Tian publicly threatened the independent saints, then he would be attacked by all the independent saints. Not to mention, if all the saints in ancient Cold City were to unite, they could sweep Ursa Major Constellation a few times over. Meng Ta suddenly shivered, as though he was being stared at by someone. He looked around, and suddenly felt that he was too happy. Both parties signed the Saint Spirit contract. Meng Ta actually failed? First time refining, Little Fool seems to be very talented in this aspect. Tang Tian reacted, and explained. Little Fool is my form spirit. Chapter 5:13. Everyone was in awe of the stage keeper's tenacity, but they all agreed that even a man made of steel would not be able to last long under such intense battles, and would crumble at any moment. Swindling and deceiving were all left to Bing, and Bing would be able to do it outstandingly. Not all saints had families to support them, and there were some who were alone. Against such a stubborn person, Bing would resort to tempting them. Little Fool's face was as black as a sheet. He was treated like a trophy to be showcased by everyone. Walking on the street, feeling the chill of the night, Tang Tian was energized. He was originally prepared for battle, but who knew that he would not be able to use a single move, and the origin mark box that he had prepared was not even used. Fu Ying did not say a word and turned to leave. A moment later, Fu Ying appeared in the ancient Cold Inn. When he walked out of the inn, he was holding on to a Ho-Fa dagger. The terrifying blade aura was like a light python, suddenly crossing the entire street, straight towards Tang Tian's face. Impossible. Chia seemed to know something. She knew about Sexton's eye, I'll ask her next time. He flew up into the sky, closed his eyes, and sensed carefully. A young man in white, with a cold expression, stood amongst the crowd, and was extremely eye-catching. Tong Ji's pupils constricted. He recognized the young man in white. Teleportation? Fu Ying's eyes flashed a cold look. Also, we do not need to be the first to pass. Tonggu revealed a look of confidence. Don't forget, there are still Fu Zhongshan and Yang Hao Ran inside. Their strength cannot be underestimated. When the time comes, I'm afraid that their counterattack will be even more ferocious. I never thought that he would actually come. Tong Gu sighed. This is troublesome. The surging blade aura was like a torrent, scorching the ground in a radius of 30 m. The aftermath destroyed the surrounding houses, and a few saints flew out in a panic. They wanted to curse out loud, but when they saw the symbol on Fu Ying's body, their faces changed, and they did not dare to say anything. Not sure. Tong Ji's face congealed, and shook his head. Actually, after Meng Ta, I already felt that he would not have much strength left. I didn't expect that even after 3 of them came, they still couldn't take him down. This person's tenacity is truly terrifying. Sighs could be heard all around. Everyone felt that if they pushed a little more, the gatekeeper would definitely not be able to hold on. Who would have thought that just as they were about to win, the gatekeeper would activate the barrier? The protective barrier was raised, and all the saints dispersed. The streets were quiet. Renru Hai and the others also noticed this person. When their eyes fell on the mark on the man's chest, their expressions changed. Honorable Martial Alliance. Ordinary saints would not be able to deal with teleportation, but to Fu Ying, who had been on the battlefield for many years, he would not back down. Teleportation didn't have a lot of space to move around, and the place to escape wasn't very far. The light of Yaya's umbrella dimmed. Even the snow mountain on the umbrella's surface was broken. Ransom? Fu Ying's eyes flashed with killing intent as he raised his right palm. You're courting death. He raised his right palm and chopped down at the light barrier. He held onto the dormant spear, and walked around the ancient cold city seemingly aimlessly. Fu Ying snorted. Although the stronghold in front of him was strange, he had conquered countless strongholds, so he did not put it in his eyes. He lingered in the air for a while, but there was still no sign of the enemy's qi. The man in white walked in front of Tong Gu and asked coldly, "Where is Yi Zhaogu? How long do you think he can last?" Renru Hai asked. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Hao Ran, who were initially suspicious of Tang Tian, were now completely convinced by Tang Tian. Counting the number of saints in the Chancellor's residence, there were as many as 12. Within a day, 9 saints were under his command. Such an expansion speed was terrifying. No matter how strong you are, there will be a time when you will collapse, Li Ruo said coldly. His palm suddenly released a glaring light, like a small sun, causing people to be unable to look at it. Since you are hiding in your turtle shell, then I will break your shell. Look, what a cute form spirit. He is called Little Fool, the first form spirit to be able to refine spirit treasures. Fu Zihong felt as though she was in a dream. She never thought that there would be a day where the number of saints in the Chancellor's residence would be so high. Fu Ying looked around and suddenly noticed the light barrier not far away. He squinted his eyes. He realized that he could not sense what was inside the light barrier. If that was the case, then there was only one possibility. A surging blade aura was released from his palm. Once it left his palm, it became dark and disappeared in the air. In the next moment it appeared 700 feet away, as though it had drilled out from the void and instantly engulfed the house. Bang! Hence, everyone was fighting to pass the barrier. Everyone was betting that they would be the one to succeed. Fu Ying frowned. He did not manage to hit his target. Tong Ji's expression returned to normal. I never thought that I would meet Master Fu Ying here. However, Master Fu Ying's question has stumped me. You can't be thinking that I am the one behind this, right? What was the problem? The force from the umbrella caused Tang Tian and Little Fool's expressions to change. The 2 figures, one big and one small, flew out as though they were hit by a heavy hammer. That's right. Renru Hai nodded and said, We do need to find a few more like-minded experts. Let's leave the vanguard to these idiots. A loud sound could be heard from within the light barrier. From the intensity of the light barrier's vibrations, one could see the power of the explosion. The dazzling light shone through the light barrier, illuminating the night sky. Renru Hai's face turned pale. Bang! The entrance of the stronghold was in chaos. Many saints were fighting inside. Even a strong martial artist like Renru Hai did not dare to step into the chaos. Tang Tian, who had been holding back the entire day, took this opportunity to sneak out of the Chancellor's residence. Although the single-valve stronghold was airtight, with Bing around, he could still fight his way out. Bing had specially created a backdoor for Tang Tian. Tang Tian could use it to teleport out. Of course, there was a certain level of risk. However, with the current strength of the stronghold, there was no need to be afraid of anyone coming in. The other two nodded in agreement. Tang Tian scoffed. Yi Zhaogu is now my captive. As long as you pay the ransom, I will hand him over to you. Why was it completely different from what he had imagined? Why was it that every time, he would lose control of the situation? The difference in strength immediately caused Tang Tian to wake up. He picked up the injured little fool and teleported, disappearing. Suddenly, he opened his eyes, raised his palm and slashed towards the house that was 700 m away. The blade aura swept across the sky, causing a tremor that sounded like a dragon's roar. The opponent was hiding inside the light barrier. What a pity, this person will have a chance to breathe, Tonga said. Everyone was familiar with the single-valve stronghold's characteristic. It was a protective layer formed by the stronghold absorbing the chaotic energy from the battles. For such a ferocious person to appear in ancient cold city, to everyone, it was like a thorn in their backs. Was that asshole dead or alive? His emotions were complicated. In the past, he only had hatred for that asshole. But now that he knew more, he could not hate him. Although he did not understand, but he could vaguely see the big net behind him. That year, the situation was much more dangerous and complicated than what he had imagined. Fu Ying had always been at the front lines. He was the Honorable Martial Alliance's blade, and was known as Killer Ying. Among the Bronze Saints, he was definitely ranked in the top 10. The number of Bronze Saints that had died in his hands was uncountable. His figure flickered lightly, and he flew over 1,000 feet, heading forward. Suddenly, he stopped and slashed again 1,000 feet away. He is coming for Yi Zhaogu. Li Ruo's voice had a tinge of fear. Right at this moment, the light barrier suddenly expanded, completely protecting the groundsmaster's residence. A layer of gentle light aura lit up from the umbrella. Cold chi filled the air and the water rippled. Yaya's umbrella spun around. The single-valve stronghold was a strange stronghold. He had already locked on to the opponent's chi. As long as the opponent was in ancient cold city, he would not be able to escape his search. Seems like Elder Rongbo really likes Yi Zhaogu. He actually sent Master Fu Ying here. I do not dare to play any tricks in front of you. If I have any news, I will definitely inform you. Tonga said. Bang, bang. So he was from the Honorable Martial Alliance. The blade light was still deflected by Yaya's umbrella, and flew into the sky. Suddenly, Tong Ji's gaze was attracted by a figure. So many years had passed. Was he dead or alive? 9. Tong Gu reported an accurate number. Tang Tian's eyes were filled with confusion. Buzz. That's right. Tonga nodded his head. But we have to find more people. If not, when the opportunity arises, we will not be able to rush over. Within a radius of 10 m, everything was turned into ashes, leaving behind a charred pit. A small umbrella appeared in front of the blade light. How many have entered? Renru Hai asked. Although the people in front had all fallen, the saints continued to advance. Every battle inside was solid, and some of them even lasted for 4 hours. It was obvious that the other party was bitterly holding on. Tang Tian felt a strong sense of danger the moment Fu Ying raised his palm. Without thinking, he shouted, Xiao Er! Xiao Er's face darkened. He had been thinking about it for the past few days. At that moment, the entire ancient cold city fell into a dead silence. All the saints were overwhelmed with shock. Fu Ying did not even look at them. He was still searching. The attack just now had not hit its target. Tang Tian walked aimlessly, thinking about his own matters. A palm strike. Hand Yi Zhao Gu over. Fu Ying said. Only you can't think of it, but there is nothing he can't cultivate. Genius Spirit Treasure Master. Renru Hai and Li Ruo kept quiet. Fu Ying felt his gaze and turned to look at him. The white-robed man walked towards Tonggu. Damn it. Fu Ying's intuition was very strong. Fu Ying deduced that he was not injured after receiving his attack. His strength was much stronger than he had imagined. You don't have the ability, Fu Ying said coldly. It was only until a white-robed man appeared in front of Tang Tian that he regained his senses. At the start, Tang Tian was rather pleased with today's defense, but very quickly, he felt bored. This umbrella is beautiful. It's freshly made. Bronze lower grade? No, it's definitely a bronze middle grade. This was an extremely powerful force. Chapter 5:14. No. Tang Tian shook his head and said with concern, Xiao Er, you should rest well. Why are you refining a spirit treasure now? Don't worry, I will definitely avenge you. Fu Ying would definitely not give up so easily. But Tang Tian looked at the report in his hands expressionlessly. He then turned and left to see Xiao Er. To reform his body, he would need to continuously use spirit techniques and energy to stabilize his spirit domain. And now, the only thing he could do was to refine a spirit treasure. Fu Ying moved like a ghost and appeared hundreds of feet away in a flash. His left arm was completely gone and his white robe was charred black. The saints in ancient Cold City were all shocked by such a shocking attack. Fu Ying's powerful battle prowess was already inconceivable to them. The title of Hero of Killer was indeed well deserved. To be able to enter the top 10 bronze saints was someone they had to look up to. Are we really going to refine it? Tang Tian was suspicious. But very quickly, he sneered. The reason why Fu Ying appeared in ancient Cold City was because he was entrusted by Elder Rong Bo to save Yi Zhao Gu. He had just retired from the battlefield, which was equivalent to a vacation. That was why he had the leisure to make this trip. Tang Tian continued. Tell Tang Chou to finish off Big Dipper as soon as possible. Seeing this, Tang Tian gathered a group of saints. With so many saints, it would be a waste not to make use of them. He slowly squinted his eyes. Deep in his eyes, he was filled with killing intent. Thinking about how Crazy Tang almost got into trouble, his heart tightened. Luckily Crazy Tang was fine. If something had happened, they then realized that they were all rushing to break through the barrier in the day. Now that they thought about it, they were all scared. In that moment, Tang Tian actually had nothing to do. Suddenly, his face changed. Tang Tian was ambushed. Because of the commotion last night, no one dared to break through the barrier. The scene of Fu Ying being injured was too shocking. In everyone's eyes, the single-valve stronghold had become even more unfathomable. Tang Tian immediately went to gather the saints. Upon hearing that Little Fool wanted to refine spirit treasures, everyone became excited. But Tang Tian's spirit treasure was obviously not that easy to obtain. Only those who decided to participate in the battle with the Honorable Martial Alliance would be able to obtain the spirit treasure first. Little Fool's condition was not too good. His figure was a little disorganized. Bing was currently directing the repair of the stronghold, although there were not many damages, but towards the war, Bing's attitude was meticulous. The waiter's face twitched. I want the soul-refining treasure. I want the soul-refining treasure. Little Fool's face darkened, and his childish voice sounded like a child who was angry. The energy barrier was struck by a light whip and burst like a bubble. At the brink of life and death, Fu Ying glared angrily at Fu Ying. He roared and channeled all his true power into his left palm as he slashed at the lightning. Fu Ying flew for a few thousand miles in one breath before stopping. He casually slashed downwards, and with a boom, A deep pit with a diameter of over 6 meters appeared beneath his feet. He then flew down. That's right, let's fight. Now, these fellows were still far from being able to fight alone. There was another piece of information that attracted Tang Tian's attention. Not far from Sexton's constellation, an Honorable Martial Alliance army was gathering. The Honorable Martial Alliance did not specialize in armies, but as the war progressed, the Honorable Martial Alliance realized that the advantages of armies were not something saints could compare to, and started to develop armies. Bing's mouth was wide open, but he could not say a word. To a military leader who revered plans and strategies, such arbitrary and impulsive actions were simply preposterous. But, against Tang Tian's unreasonable decision, Bing was powerless to oppose. Bing handed over the responsibility of defense to Fu Zihong. The young lady's talent was actually quite good, and with more training, she might be able to hold her own. As for Bing himself, he entered Three Spirits City from the Martial Spirit Chamber, and from Three Spirits City to Ursa Major Constellation. He wanted to meet up with the rookies from the Sky Martial Wolf Academy in advance. They were the backbone that he had painstakingly nurtured, and he did not want them to die just like that. Single valve stronghold? The other party was obviously startled, and his eyes lit up. Where is it? Fu Ying had suffered such a huge loss, and would definitely not let it go. And the Red Leaf Army's mobilization was even more obvious that a huge war was approaching. Rather than that, it would be better to get the spirit treasures, and in the war, it would increase their chances of survival. After a moment, Bing suddenly laughed lightly. Hee! The originally dim light barrier suddenly erupted with light, and the light barrier trembled violently. The saints inside the light barrier were shocked to realize that the light barrier had a layer of densely packed fine lightning. The fine lightning was gathering at an astonishing speed. Who dared to ambush Tang Tian? All right, Bing said subconsciously, but he quickly reacted. That's not right. If we openly send out an army, it will cause the other constellations to retaliate. And if we clash with the Red Leaf Army, it will not be in line with our original plan. This also started the precedent of the Gold Branch Palace building an army, and the other branches all followed suit and built their own armies. Then let's fight. Tang Tian interrupted him. This brat had indeed become tyrannical. His heart was bleeding. Those despicable people who surrendered were coveting his spirit treasures. He had long decided not to refine spirit treasures for them, but he did not expect that he would actually be injured. Little fool, are you all right? Tang Tian squatted down, his face full of worry. I have finished changing. Bing could not help but be cautious. Crazy Tang was going to go crazy. Fu Ying's strength was indeed something that Tang Tian had never seen before in his life. Landing in the cave, his honorable martial plate suddenly lit up, transforming into a light screen, and a person with a face full of sunshine appeared on the light screen. Seeing Fu Ying in such a sorry state, he was shocked. What happened to you? The other saints were completely shocked by Tang Tian's performance. With just a few words, they could see that a bitter battle was about to begin. Fu Ying only felt a ferocious current of energy, suddenly crushing down on him. His left arm could be seen with the naked eye, charred black, charred, and flying ashes, but his desperate attack gave him a chance to live. He endured the pain, gathered his remaining energy, and retreated. Tang Tian was not afraid at all. Instead, he was full of fighting spirit. The army that was assembled was called the Red Leaf Army, and the military leader was called Jones. Jones was not from the Honorable Martial Alliance, but was from the Dolphin Constellation, and was discovered by Fu Ying during one of his missions. After that, Jones displayed his outstanding military talent, and was appointed to form the Red Leaf Army. Even Hero of Killers was heavily injured. These saints were very clear. Since they had already joined the Ursa Major Constellation, they could not avoid being branded with the Ursa Major Constellation's brand. If they were to clash with the Honorable Martial Alliance, the Honorable Martial Alliance would definitely not let them off just because they did not participate in the war. The gentle white ball of light protected his entire body, but the sense of danger in his heart did not diminish at all. He did not dare to imagine the outcome. Swoosh! He quickly ran towards the secret door that he had left behind, and a figure appeared out of thin air, and when he landed, he staggered. It had been a long time since he saw Crazy Tang in such a difficult situation, but for some reason, Bing's heart was suddenly filled with anger. They had already secretly informed their families, and asked them to migrate to the Ursa Major constellation. Bing's head was in a mess. Once Crazy Tang went crazy, he would be unreasonable. It was obvious that Crazy Tang did not want to be reasonable anymore. Fu Ying's face changed. The intense sense of danger caused all the hairs on his body to stand. He immediately released his energy barrier. His energy barrier was the Honorable Martial Alliance's, Honorable Martial Alliance's, Honorable Martial Protection. Attack the barrier? Bing looked at Tang Tian. His heart was slightly worried. Crazy Tang had always been carefree. It was rare to see him so full of killing intent. Bang! Tang Tian did not expect that no one would hesitate. Although the Red Leaf Army had just been formed, the quality of the soldiers was very high. Fu Ying even persuaded the 10th Gold Sub-Palace to send a large number of gold-ranked martial artists to be the backbone of the army. Tang Tian asked expressionlessly, "Has the Sky Martial Wolf Academy finished changing their equipment?" Tang Tian received the information from Bell, and finally understood Fu Ying's background. Fu Ying was a member of the Honorable Martial Alliance's tribunal. Every member of the tribunal was a killing machine, and Fu Ying was even more fanatical about fighting. He had always been in the most dangerous place, and ever since the war between the Honorable Martial Alliance and Leo Constellation broke out, he had been on the battlefield. Fu Ying, who was in the sky, faced the light barrier and slashed down with his palm. The blade aura gushed out and transformed into a dazzling current. With a whistling sound, it crashed into the light barrier. Little Fool looked at Tang Tian. He was not moved at all. His face was full of misfortune. He felt that he was unlucky. Why was he the one who blocked that attack? If it was this fool, he reckoned that he would have already regained control. "I will bring people over now," the other party said without hesitation. Sexton's constellation, ancient cold city. Fu Ying squeezed the words out of his mouth. After suffering such a huge loss, if he did not get back at Fu Ying, he would not be Tang Tian. Fu Ying's spirit value had actually reached a shocking 298 points. He did not expect that he would need to refine spirit treasures in order to recover his strength. An Honorable Martial Alliance army, just thinking about it made him look forward to it. He had just refined and repaired the Yaya umbrella, and his body was indeed stronger, at the cost of consuming a large number of star rocks. Fu Ying closed the Honorable Martial plate, sat down cross-legged, threw a pill into his mouth, and began to meditate. Fu Ying's figure quickly disappeared into the horizon, and his sharp voice resonated throughout the snowy plains. "None of you will escape. We have been tricked." Fu Ying's face turned green. "We have encountered a single-valve stronghold, and Yi Zhaoguo has yet to be rescued." He had the urge to kill himself. What made him even more depressed was that he needed to reform his body. Let them gather. A few of the saints who had trained in eye-related spirit techniques were even more fearful. Everyone looked at the light barrier of the stronghold, their eyes filled with fear. The single-valve stronghold had been lost for many years, and in everyone's eyes, it was just a strange stronghold. But when they personally witnessed the earth-shattering attack, these independent saints were all stunned. Their vision suddenly brightened, as a lightning bolt as thick as an arm lit up the night sky, and with the speed of lightning, it struck his energy barrier. That's right. Little Fool could no longer be bothered to look at Tang Tian. Chapter 5:15. Poison. Lots of poison. We only have one target this time, and that is Fu Ying. Don't even think about being merciful, we just want to get rid of him. Tang Tian was definitely an outstanding school tyrant. 3 Spirit City. Old Man Fei did not expect Tang Tian to come, and was overjoyed. Although there was no smithing bitch, the current 3 Spirit City was more like a training ground for mechanical weapons. This person's character must be extreme and stubborn. To be able to train the honorable martial spirit / to a spirit value of 210 is unheard of. That's right, boss's idea is brilliant. Tang Tian took out the information sent by Bell and asked everyone to take a seat. Then, he distributed the information to everyone. Tang Tian did not hear what they were saying, but he felt that the idea of using puppets was not bad. He had a feeling that it would be difficult to use the Sea of Clouds to trap Fu Ying, and he needed to add more ingredient. Just like how Bing commanded the army, the complicated control aura was something that Tang Tian could not catch up to. But if it was a group fight, Bing would not be able to fight against Tang Tian. Tang Tian's unorthodox ideas were endless, and those seemingly absurd ideas were often very effective. There were also many other bad ideas. Every time this happened, Bing would be stunned. Meng Ta was the most cunning. After hearing Tang Tian's words, he immediately knew that it was a good opportunity to show off. Furthermore, it was obvious that whoever spoke first would gain the upper hand. He coughed lightly and took the lead. No matter how powerful a saint is, there will always be a weakness. Although Fu Ying is powerful, he is still a high-level country bumpkin. Tang Tian decided to go to 3 Spirit City to take a look. As for his arm, when he returned to the Honorable Martial Group, there would naturally be a way to recover. But, when he thought about that night, a ruthless look surfaced in his eyes. He had dominated the battlefield and killed countless people. When had he ever suffered such a loss? Other than that, Fu Ying's energy barrier was the honorable martial protection. He had spent much less effort on it, and only had 20 spirit value points. Meng Ta did not forget to flatter Tang Tian, but it had to be said that he had summed it up well. Occupying 210 spirit value, this should be a spirit technique belonging to a silver saint. Fu Ying's handsome face was now filled with malevolence. He did not bother to conceal his killing intent. His left arm was only left with a small piece of charred skin. His tone was cold. You have 2 choices. One is to become my subordinate, and the other is to die. After this, I'll let you live. Everyone's hearts trembled. It was effective against saints, and the other technique, that took up even more spirit value, was his flying spirit technique, a shadow step. Shadow step was not an exclusive spirit technique of the Honorable Martial Alliance, but a common technique. But he was able to forcefully comprehend this common technique to a spirit value of 68 points. Upon hearing the 2 words spirit treasure, everyone's morale immediately rose. Tang Tian muttered to himself, "Sigh, how could I forget that?" This type of spirit technique was usually cultivated by the saints of the big powers, as it was more suitable for war. Independent saints were usually lone wolves, and very few of them would cultivate it. Although it could trap the enemy, it lacked the ability to kill in one strike. It should not be a problem for him to deal with ordinary bronze saints. With a casual honorable martial spirit / no one would be able to block it. His outstanding flying spirit technique allowed him to increase his power, but he still has a weakness. His defense is too weak, and although his flying spirit technique is outstanding, it is still far from reaching 100 spirit value. Let's target his weakness. The 3 of them felt their scalps go numb. The current Fu Ying was like a demon. His terrifying aura made it impossible for them to resist. Even Tong Gu knew that it was not the right time to go against him. But Tang Tian, who had been a school tyrant before, knew that battles were not only limited to duels. Ganging up on an opponent was also an effective method. Of course, the level of ganging up on an opponent would show the level of a school tyrant. The other saints were shocked. Sea of Clouds was a type of large-scale spirit technique. It could create a sea of clouds and trap the enemy. Once trapped in the sea of clouds, one would lose their sense of direction. They would think that they were flying in a straight line, but in fact they were flying in circles. Master, this is our latest developed poison, white illusion. Its biggest characteristic is that it does not enter the human body through breathing, but through energy. As long as a little bit of energy is infected by the white illusion, once it enters the body, it will quickly spread. It will directly affect the spirit domain and create all sorts of illusions. Everyone was cursing in their hearts. This bootlicker, why didn't they see this in the past? But on the surface, they were praising Fu Ying. Meng Ta's eyes lit up. Great! Fu Ying's strength was indeed much higher than his. Regarding this, Tang Tian had no choice but to admit. That slash immediately caused Little Fool's body to scatter. This kind of attack was something that Tang Tian had never seen before. Meng Ta was also excited. If he could get rid of Fu Ying, just thinking about it made him excited. Needless to say, it was good to have a big tree to lean on. Even before the battle started, he had already gotten the enemy's information. He did not plan to wait for the Red Leaf Army. His figure flew out of the cave and towards the ancient cold city. Continue. Tang Tian was excited. As expected of Fu Ying, he was quite good at it. Everyone's face was pale. Entering the ancient cold city and seeing the single-valve stronghold, Fu Ying's eyes flashed a cold light. Because of his battle, the independent saints did not dare to barge in. Bing would definitely not admit that Tang Tian was more intelligent than others. He attributed it to Tang Tian's battle instincts. Can we add something into the sea of clouds to attract Fu Ying's attention? For example, a puppet. It would be best if it had the chi of a saint. Tang Tian asked. He thought about the battle last night and said, his intuition is very strong. Even if I use teleportation, it would be difficult to escape from his senses. Everyone was enlightened. Using the sea of clouds to trap the enemy and then using the spirit treasure to kill him in one strike was a good idea. A few of the saints were envious. Though a sea of clouds was not very useful to the independent saints. But now that everyone had joined the Ursa Major constellation, it would be very useful. This guy would definitely be put in an important position. No one said anything. They were all looking at the information in their hand. If the information was true, then Fu Ying's strength was too strong. With a sea of clouds with a spirit value of 70, Fu Ying would definitely not be able to escape. Then let's use the sea of clouds to trap him and give him a good beating. Meng Ta said. Everyone spread out. This way, he can disperse his attack. Boss is really wise. Everyone's hair stood on end. They then remembered that the first poison battle was started by their boss. The entire Onyx Soul was in an uproar. At that time, Heaven's Road was in a state of fear. The terrifying scene was still fresh in everyone's mind. Spirit value of 298. There was only one attack spirit technique. Honorable Martial Spirit slash. Renru Hai and the other two's faces changed. They were all on guard. With the white illusion in his hands, Tang Tian's confidence soared. Seeing this, everyone could not help but take in a deep breath. Honorable Martial Spirit slash was a common technique among the bronze spirit techniques of the Honorable Martial Alliance. The initial spirit value was only 8 points. It was not even comparable to Tang Tian's teleportation. But Fu Ying had invested an unlimited amount of effort into this seemingly ordinary spirit technique. Currently, his Honorable Martial Spirit slash was already at 210 points. It was only 20 points away from the record of 230 points that the Honorable Martial Alliance, the Honorable Martial Spirit slash, could achieve. Everyone was speechless. 10 minutes is enough. Tang Tian's spirit was roused. Everyone was attracted by Meng Ta's words. Even Tang Tian was listening attentively. Meng Ta was even more excited. No wonder Fu Ying's attacks were so terrifying. I have to go take a look. Sigh, the last time they said that they had developed a new poison that was effective against saints. Old Man Fei gave Tang Tian a large amount of antidote. If he consumed it in advance, he would be able to avoid being affected by the white illusion during the battle. If they were to be affected, it would definitely be a disaster. Hearing Tang Tian's intention, Old Man Fei did not hesitate to take out a crystal tube. Seeing everyone's gaze, the saint was slightly embarrassed. I have another spirit treasure. Fu Ying opened his eyes in the cave. His eyes were filled with killing intent. His left arm had completely disappeared, leaving behind only a small part that was charred black. But after 2 days of recuperation, his battle strength had recovered. Tang Tian's opening speech set the tone for the discussion. Meng Ta praised, as expected of the boss, "Your brain is not something we can compare to." Tang Tian was slightly unhappy. He stared at the crowd. I asked all of you here to think of a solution. Today, all of you have to think of a solution, regardless of whether it is good or bad. If anyone can't think of a solution, we will talk about the spirit treasure later. A spirit value of 68 points, shadow step, it is unimaginable. Meng Ta sighed. This Fu Ying was not valued in the Honorable Martial Alliance. He did not even train in any powerful spirit technique. Meng Ta turned to ask the rest. A saint raised his hand. I, a sea of clouds, have a spirit value of 70 points. He wanted to prepare a feast for Fu Ying. Shadow Step only has a spirit value of 5 points. For him to be able to train it to 68 points, he is indeed powerful. But Shadow Step is a spirit technique that emphasizes on dodging in a small area and not in a straight line. Since that is the case, we need a large area of effect attack, one that he cannot escape from in an instant. Who has trained in a large area of effect illusion spirit technique. He only has 3 types of spirit technique. To sum it up, he has a silver rank attack, an outstanding but not top-notch bronze rank movement, and a terrible bronze rank defense. That is why I said, he is just a high-level country bumpkin without a spirit treasure. Compared to a tyrant-like boss, he is simply incomparable. Fu Ying sensed for a while and flew towards the west of the city. After a while, he appeared in front of Rin Ru Hai and the other 2. To surround and attack a target, one had to be prepared beforehand. In other words, one should not fight a battle without preparation. Fu Ying did not care about them and said coldly, "Let us go and pay a visit to the most powerful ones." Old Man Fei then carefully said, "Saints are very strong in all aspects. The white illusion has a limited time. It can only last for 10 minutes before the opponent's spirit domain will recognize it and kill it." Tang Tian raised his head. "How about poison? I have a lot of poisons, poisonous smoke, poisonous fog and the like. If it is mixed in the sea of clouds, they will not be able to tell. This is a good idea. It would be best if it is a white smoke. Puppets, using them in the sea of clouds, why did no one think of this before?"